he had the most beautiful, beaming smile. He loved that there, and at the end of it he gave a rousing applause to all the Scotland fans for singing it, so as did a number of other Portuguese players. So he's trying to make himself a friend of the Tarn Army just now, but in reality, when you get a chance to see some of the greats, we've seen some of them here, Messi, but all the way back to Maradona, and they're almost always well received. Let's hope and let's believe that Ronaldo will be too.
Every ticket sold tonight. Scotland looking for their first point in the group. It's difficult. They played so well to get promoted up to this top tier of the Nations League, but then all the contests are very difficult ones now, and it's been 3 straight defeats, albeit Steve Clarke pleased with the performances, and the evidence of that is because he makes just one change to his starting 11 tonight from the Scotland team that were beaten 2-1 in Croatia on Saturday. Che Adams, who plays in Italy these days with Torino, he comes in place of Lyndon Dykes at the top of the attack. Craig Gordon, who'll be 42 in December, in goal for Scotland. Anthony Ralston at right back, John Souttar and Grant Hanley in the middle, Andy Robertson of Liverpool on the left, with Billy Gilmore and Kenny McLean in the middle of the midfield. Ben Doak, 18 years of age, on the right, first time he started a game for Scotland here at Hampden. Ryan Christie on the left, Scott McTominay, who's been scoring goals for fun, 2 in his last 3 games for Napoli. He's scored against Portugal last month, and there will be, ahead of kick-off here, a moment's remembrance for Alex Salmond, the former Scottish First Minister, who has died suddenly at the age of 69 while attending a conference in North Macedonia. Regular participant as part of the Tartan Army. He was in Germany at the Euros in the summer, Alex Salmond, and Hampden Park will pause in remembrance of him ahead of kick-off. Appreciation at Hampden for the memory of Alex Salmond, the former Scottish First Minister, and we are ready to get underway. Nations League A, Group 1, Glasgow, on what is a very pleasant night for football. There's no real breeze around the place at all. It's bone dry. Scotland in their traditional kit, very dark navy with a yellow trim. Portugal in their very eye-catching change strip, which is sort of a predominantly white with a smatter of sky blue etched between it, very Portuguese design. Ronaldo standing there with the hands on the hips, bang on the halfway line, ready for this game to get underway. The referee is from Belgium, Laurence Visser. Scotland will play from left to right as we look down. And we are underway. Extra buzz around the place tonight. It feels like a very big game. Can Scotland get a big result? And regardless of what you think about the Nations League, and I know many people are still trying to figure out what it's all in aid of, good performance in the Nations League can make it easier for Scotland to qualify for the World Cup, and I would imagine that is the number one priority from Steve Clarke's point of view. We're underway. Pat Nevin.
And that's why you want to get a few points on the board, and Scotland haven't managed to get that yet, although they have been competitive in every single game. What I also would like to see from Scotland tonight is that positivity. You know, they're not doing the back three anymore. It's a back four. It's getting more players in the midfield, so there's no fearfulness about the way they play against whoever it is, and right from the start they've tried to get on the ball here.
Ben Doku started on the left wing, Ryan Christie on the right hand side, McTominay in behind Che Adams. The Portugal team with Porto's Diogo Costa in goal behind a back four of João Cancelo, Ruben Dias, Antonio Silva Benfica and Nuno Mendes of Paris Saint-Germain. Scotland coming forward, their first attack of the game, but it's been won back by João Cancelo in the right full-back position. The midfield, Bruno Fernandes, João Paulinho, once of Fulham, now of Bayern Munich, and Vitinha of Paris Saint-Germain. And then there's Francisco Conceição, Cristiano Ronaldo and Diogo Jota of Liverpool into the team tonight. It says an awful lot, the calibre of players who've come into the Portuguese team tonight, the strength they have, the 6 changes. Also, there's so many players, like Pedro Neto's one of them, who can't even get on the bench. That's how strong the options are for Roberto Martinez.
They're absolutely incredible. I really rate João Felix as a player, but as you say, Bernardo Silva, players like that as well. The last time Roberto Martinez made a huge amount of changes that I remember was at the Euros when, well, by the way, interesting, Ronaldo gets a ball and he is booed roundly.
Yeah, you can smile at the anthem all you want, that's not going to quite win over the hearts and minds immediately.
It's very, very strange because the Scots loved Maradona, but I think there was a reason for that.
Well, it seems they poke the bear here, the Tartan Army, with their boos of Cristiano Ronaldo inside the early minutes. 0-0 at Hampden as Scotland get it with Che Adams, and he's pushed the ball ahead of Ralston. Good tracking back by Nuno Mendes. McTominay, though, tries to get the shot away on the edge of the penalty area. There'd been a foul on Nuno Mendes in the build-up, and that's going to be a free kick to Portugal just outside their own penalty area. But it's a positive front-forward, front-thinking start from Steve Clarke's team.
It is, but what was Nuno Mendes thinking of there? That was a dreadful pass. You don't often use a phrase like that at this level, but he just got the ball in the left back area and passed it directly into Adams. A really, really poor moment. I mean, that almost looked a player who looks a little bit nervous. Having said that, he's got himself back into position. He's up in the left wing now. Doak, by the way, a player that Scotland are talking about a lot just now, great pace. He's playing in the left, as you mentioned, and the left is important to Scotland because with Robertson over there as well, they're going to try and overload that position.
Ben Doak starting tonight, the first 18-year-old to make back-to-back starts for Scotland in over 40 years. You've got to go back to Paul Matchday in 1983, but they hope he's a special talent. Good ball forward by Vitinha, and it was being scampered after by Conceição, but quickly off his goal line, 41-year-old Craig Gordon got there first.
Yeah, great to see him looking lively, Craig. By the way, Vitinha, I don't know how much you've seen of him. What a player. I absolutely adore watching him as a player. So calm in the ball, controls games from that deep line midfield position, but he's honestly, there are very few in the world that sees passes better than him.
Once of Wolverhampton Wanderers, Vitinha didn't get much of a look in there, but doing good things at Barry Saint-Germain with Portugal now. Here's Ben Doak, few step overs on the edge of the area, gives it back to Robertson, left footed ball in, McTominay straight at the keeper. Diogo Costa saves, and Scott McTominay appeared odds on there to continue his hot streak of goal scoring form. It's a great Scotland build up, but the header was at the keeper.
Well, came from Kenny McLean. Scotland got a free kick right in the middle of the park there. Portugal went to sleep. He's just leathered it out to the left wing, knowing that Doak's got the pace. He gets onto the ball and McTominay gets in there, and to be fair, McTominay recently, you'd have bet your house on that one ending in the net from about 6 yards. It was a quite poor header straight to goalkeeper, but really good start by Scotland.
We must explain to viewers we do have television monitors in our commentary position here at Hampden, but before the game, a certain national team appointed a certain national coach. Someone has flicked it over to a sports news channel, and they forgot to turn it back for us to see the images of this game.
I have to tell you something else about another bit of information about that. I don't think this is on television anywhere.
That is a very good point. It can be streamed online or YouTube, through the magic of your ears on the radio. So if you are tuning in tonight to 5 Live, having been frustrated in finding the pictures, you're not alone. We don't have the replays either. That'll be the reason, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But fortunately, very cleverly, they're actually putting the game up on the big screen. So.
Do you think they'll show the controversial replays we need?
Not a hope
on the big screen. No. Hampden Park 0-0. Scotland against Portugal tonight. 5 Live in the Nations League. As Francisco Conceição, son of Sergio Conceição of the past, comes forward down the right-hand side. Ruben Diaz of Manchester City gives it to Nuno Mendes. His little cut ball into Bruno Fernandes. Portugal squad absolutely oozing with big names, big characters, big quality as Bruno Fernandes gets it back from the edge of a 1-2. Flooks it in towards Ronaldo, just too high. Bounces in front of Craig Gordon and up into the safety of the gloves of the Scotland goalkeeper wearing all bright pink.
Are you surprised at the reaction of Scotland supporters to Cristiano Ronaldo? I mean, he gets that in some places, but apart from scoring a winner against Scotland a wee while back there, what's he done wrong?
I know, it's the notoriety. I always think you are either, it's like, are you Kamala Harris or you Donald Trump? You're never both. Are you either Messi or Ronaldo? I get there's a lot of Messi fans who will just boo him.
Yeah, the Scots are Messi, very much
on
so.
principle, and Oh well, Beatles, Rolling Stones, Blur, Oasis, whatever your fancy. Gordon's clearance, left-footed up towards Stoke on the halfway line. Gilmour will nip in, and he's just about swept the ball away from Diogo Jota on the edge of his own penalty area. He was confident that from Billy Gilmour, another who's moved along with McTominay to Napoli. Starting again tonight, and the last 2 games for Scotland, Billy Gilmour has played the full 90 minutes. It's the first time in his senior international career that he has played full games. Up until 2 games ago, he'd always either come on as a sub or been taken off before the end, and maybe that's a sign that Steve Clarke sees him a bit more mature now and able to see through the full 90 minutes.
There's also a 2-word answer to that as well.
Callum McGregor.
Correct. He's not here anymore, so someone had to slot into that position, and Scotland are very, very, very fortunate. Callum was a huge player for Scotland, but Billy's quality as well, so very fortunate now.
7 minutes played as Antonio Silva to stretch there and nearly lost the ball, the Portuguese central defender in the halfway line. So Francisco Conceição does give it up, and Scotland, you can hear the roar in the background from the fans as they win possession. And then Christie's to stretch. It wasn't a good pass towards him. Diogo Jota's picked it up for Portugal. Bad touch though, shows too much of it to Kenny McLean. Ronaldo shoots from the edge of the penalty area. It was going on target, but it wasn't extremely powerful. It wasn't a bad shot, but Craig Gordon got down comfortably to save. 0-0.
It's one of those ones where you're expecting it to go through legs. It did go through legs, might have got a little bit of a deflection, but as you say, not enough power in it. You get the feeling that Cristiano Ronaldo's quite keen to keep the scoring run up at the moment. He said he wants to get so many more records, and at his age it's astonishing that he's still looking that far ahead.
We mentioned Craig Gordon, who'll be 42 in December. Cristiano Ronaldo turns 40 in February. Tonight, cap number 216, an ongoing world record, and he's already scored 133 international goals. Again, an ongoing world record, and having not scored at the Euros, he has scored in every game since. Here's Ralston, cross on the right hand side, clipped off Ruben Diaz on the way through, and it popped nicely into the arms of Diogo Costa. But Scotland, 9 minutes in, have probably had 3 decent attacks, and they've looked dangerous on all 3 occasions.
Not only dangerous, but very impressive, very pleasing on the eye as well. The way they're zipping the ball about. It's the big thing we were talking beforehand about Stevie Clarke. It's the reason why 1 win in 15. A lot of Scotland fans are very much behind them, because they can see the type of football that Scotland are playing. Yeah, there are weaknesses, but there's a real bravery about the way they want to get on the ball and play it. And that move there, that was magnificent. Quite noticeable just now. Every time Kenny McLean gets the ball, central midfield, he just gets his head up and leathers it behind the fullback, João Cancelo, thinking Doak will do him for pace.
A little nudge in the back by Diogo Jota into Rangers' John Souttar, and pleasant smiles are on the press box as suddenly images of our game show up. So it's like when your parents ring you and they've got an IT problem. Somebody somewhere has explained how they can get it from a laptop onto our monitors, and we've got a very sort of slow, jagged streaming version of this game in front of us to help with any controversial replays later on.
Yeah, somebody's asked somebody young, haven't they?
10 minutes played, Scotland 0, Portugal 0 tonight. More on Thomas Tuchel's appointment, of course, on 5 Live as the evening progresses. All the detail on the BBC Sport website as well. Poor ball out of defence by Souttar there. Portugal get it back in the midfield. Vitinha, low ball to Cristiano Ronaldo, 10 yards outside the penalty area. Rolls it to the right hand side. Conceição pulls it back on his left boot, clips it in towards the far post. We're also got a really important touch there. He had Diogo Jota leading into him. He stood his ground and he flicked it out for a corner. Had he not done, Ruben Diaz was pounced behind, ready to score. Ralston gets it out for a Portugal corner.
Do you know what? An open play. What's Ruben Diaz doing there? Right at the back post from across from the right hand side. Now, I'll tell you what he's doing there. He started that move from centre back and then just pinned his heels back and ran. Just shows you the positivity of that team.
Positive start from Roberto Martinez's Portugal side here tonight. Corner to Portugal, lots of pushing and shoving in a busy 6-yard box, and the Belgian referee comes across to try and create a little bit of daylight between tussle of players who are all trying to occupy that same pocket of space in front of Craig Gordon. Corner can now be taken from the left-hand side. Bruno Fernandes standing over it, short run up, good delivery, in swinging. Gordon found it difficult to deal with. He punched it away. He himself, the Hearts goalkeeper, fell into the goal net. but crucially, he pushed the ball away from trouble.
It's as if the Portuguese have thought, oh, there's a 41-year-old in goal, we'll just put him under a little bit of pressure. Yeah, but Craig Gordon's an unusual 41-year-old. He really had very rarely over his many caps let Scotland down, or indeed his club teams either.
Yeah, on Saturday in Croatia, Craig Gordon became the oldest player to ever start a match for Scotland. He already had held the record of being the oldest, having come on as a sub in a game a few months back, but the oldest player to ever start for Scotland, and he's in goal again tonight here at Hampden. It is cap number 77 for Craig Gordon this evening. Tonight sees Steve Clarke overtake both Jock Stein and Andy Roxburgh for the number of games in charge. Makes his 62nd match at the helm. Only Craig Brown now has managed Scotland more often, as Portugal are holding on to possession of the midfield here. João Palhinha and Vitinha, they turn and they roll it back to Ruben Diaz. Here is little Francisco Conceição on the right hand side. Scotland just falling back into a defensive position here, and it works well though, because the weight of numbers behind the ball. So Che Adams briefly get it, then he loses out to João Palhinha, who Fulham fans know is so good at doing that, making little interceptions and tackles. Ball eventually goes out for a Portugal corner, and there's a goal at Windsor Park. Northern Ireland are playing Bulgaria tonight, and John Southall's keeping an eye on this.
And Northern Ireland have the lead. Northern Ireland 1, Bulgaria 0. Dion Charles did brilliantly down the left hand side, played it into Isaac Price, and he finished from 8 yards out. Northern Ireland 1, Bulgaria 0.
Thanks very much, John. Corner for Portugal, right hand side as they come forward. Bruno Fernandes of Manchester United has gone out to place the ball. Cristiano Ronaldo bouncing up at his toes, trying to find some space, but it's not playing into the centre, it's to the edge of the box, and Vitinha, and he gives it across to João Cancelo. Nuno Mendes on the left hand side tries to play it in, comes back to Vitinha just outside the D. He's got the support of João Cancelo on the left hand side, and again it's a similar pattern out to Nuno Mendes, whose attempted cross is blocked by Anthony Ralston. Portugal remain on the attack. They've got to throw in down the left hand side. 0-0. Pat Nevin.
There's a real comfort about the Portuguese at the moment. They've actually got themselves a foothold in the game, but they hold the ball so well. They've got such belief in their own ability, and I would say 9 of the 10 outfield players have looked so comfortable on the ball. I can't say the same for Nuno Mendes so far.
Here is Conceição, right hand side for Portugal, back into João Cancelo, who plays his club football in Saudi these days. Conceição's delivery, and just too high for Jota, skims out to Scotland's relief, and there must have been a touch off the defender on the way through, because the Belgian referee points towards the corner flag. Good delivery from Conceição there, and Portugal are looking very dangerous at the moment.
I was trying to see who that was there. It might have been Andrew Robertson at the back post that actually nodded that, but no, it couldn't have been. It must have been Christie. Christie it was at the back post. But really, the moment, the quality they're beginning to put in from the crosses, Conceição, particularly on the right hand side with his left foot, is causing Scotland a few problems at the back post.
There is a prestige for Scotland being in this top tier of the Nations League, but it comes with difficult assignments. Bruno Fernandes from the short corner to Diogo Jota, whose attempts to shoot were thwarted, and Gilmour tries to launch a counter-attack, seemed to lose his balance just as he played the pass. He was trying to feed Ben Doak, but as he was falling as he struck it, it wasn't as accurate as he desired, and Portugal regained possession inside their own half.
But a really good move there, because Doak was the furthest forward of Scotland, and he'd given his marker about 10 yards. Had it been only 5, he probably would have done him with the pace that he's got just now, but it was not quite good enough. But Scotland, as you say, under a good deal of pressure just now, but they're kind of used to that. They kind of can deal with that a lot of the time, but they would love to get out now and again.
Ben Doak, much hope being put upon. Of course, he's very young, not played many senior games in his career, but he looks great at the ball. Here's another delivery in for the right hand side. Sergio Conceição headed away by an beleaguered Scotland defence. Here's João Cancelo inside the penalty area, tries to shoot. Robertson gets the block ahead of him, and then Andy Robertson falls to the ground as both players tried to challenge for it. Robertson holding his head. Not sure there was a connection with his head, but he's done enough to convince the referee, and that's a free kick to Scotland inside their own penalty area. 0-0 in the Nations League at Hampden Park.
You've absolutely spotted it, haven't you? That cross from the right hand side, usually with the left foot or the outside of the right foot on this occasion there, and certainly the Portuguese seem to think Scotland have got a problem at that back post. The left full back of the Portuguese is overlapping, so there's an overload there. It's a bit of a shame, because they're putting so much pressure on that Ralston there at the back post. He's going to have to be very good tonight, particularly as he's usually got 2 players to mark in that back post. And one of them's Diogo Jota, and we know he's quite good at scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. Diogo Jota, 14 international goals for his country. He's not scored in his last 7 games for Portugal, but we know from watching him in the Premier League with Liverpool that what a regular goal scorer he is. Yesterday in the press conference, Steve Clarke said we need to believe in ourselves, pointing to the fact that the Scotland team has been able to qualify for the last 2 European Championships, and he feels the performances have been better than Scotland's results in this group, and the 3 defeats have all been by a single goal. Any of them could have gone the other way, certainly could have been draws.
Absolutely, and even the Croatia game there, Scotland did score in the very final minute, in the final kick of the ball, but very marginally offside there, and it has been like that. It's been a bit of a sob story, that's football, it goes that way. Scotland have to remember they had a long period where we kept on scoring late goals to win games. But I don't think it'll panic Steve Clarke at the moment, because the team haven't been playing that bad. They haven't said that for the last 10 or 15 minutes. Scotland have hardly had a kick.
Scotland 0, Portugal 0. Nuno Mendes tries to cross on the left-hand side. Ralston battles for it with Diogo Jota. Down goes Ryan Christie, and the referee is reaching for his notebook here. It's going to be a yellow card for Diogo Jota. Now, it didn't seem a particularly forceful challenge, but the referee, who was close to it, has deemed that to be serious enough for Liverpool's Diogo Jota, one of 6 changes in Roberto Martinez's team tonight, for him to pick up the first yellow card of the game.
I think you're calling that spot on. It's the first time that I've seen it. Basically, it's a forwards tackle. He goes for the ball, he's missed it, it's been flicked away from him. It's one of those ones, for me, it's a foul. It's not a yellow card, it's a foul. It's a little mistake. He's definitely not going to hurt the player. But it's one of those referees who has very much a particular style of flourishing, and I think it is flourishing his yellow card.
Brandishing.
Yeah.
Brandishing the card. Right.
Just show it.
Diogo Jota on a yellow card. He's got to be careful now. Bruno Fernandes kicks the ball off the chest of Che Adams. That's riled up the squad. Down goes Christie. Free kick to Scotland this time. And Roberto Martinez is out. Both arms out stretched, and he's appealing that decision to the referee. Roberto Martinez, who's got a long history and very strong connections with Scotland, so much so he's even a mate of Pat Evans.
Yes, a very good friend. He was at Motherwell as a player under me, so I was his boss at one point for a good period of time. To be fair, even though I was his boss. By the way, the boos just now are very simply, you can probably guess it, it's Cristiano Ronaldo's gone up and complained to the referee, and Scotland fans aren't over impressed with that. But Roberto, a really good manager, tactically very, very good, but I'll tell you what, as good a manager he is, he's as nice a bloke.
His wife Beth he met when he was playing for Motherwell, a regular visitor back to those parts. So this will be a big night in the Martinez household as Robertson takes the free kick for Scotland. Ruben Dias backpedaling, there's a chance of a shot, and it was Ryan Christie, I believe, but it was straight at the goalkeeper Diogo Costa again.
Well, that's a couple of pretty clear-cut chances that Scotland have had. It's not falling to his left foot there, he's taken it on the half volley. He's managed to keep it down, but it's straight down the throat of the goalkeeper. But for Scotland, there's been a number of games, I'm surprised that the referee didn't go brandishing his yellow card there again as Christie went in for a tackle. But for Scotland, when they've broken so far in this game, they have developed chances.
Ryan Christie, who scored in Croatia on Saturday, as Scotland hoping that they could snatch a first half lead here, and we'll find out how good this Portugal team, top of the group, really are. Scotland 0, Portugal 0. Premier League back on Saturday. We'll have our pick of the 3 o'clock games for the round the ground service with Ian Dennis. Manchester United against Brentford, so that Eric Ten Hag was back reporting for duty after a little mini break yesterday. The tea-time game on Saturday is Bournemouth against Arsenal. You can listen to that game here on 5 Live. And there are 2 further Premier League games to come on Sunday. Wolves host Manchester City, that's at 2, and Liverpool against Chelsea at 4:30. Cheers for the Scotland fans as the ball goes out of play on the far side and possession returns to the home team.
I think it's been a bit of a lift for Scotland there. They had that break, they had that half chance there because they had a little period of about 10 minutes there. They couldn't get on the ball, they couldn't get any control in the midfield, and you don't want to get pushed further and further back, but that's what happens when you lose the control of the ball. And to be fair, as I said before, the quality of passing, moving with the ball, making themselves available is absolutely magnificent on that Portuguese side.
0-0 on 5 line for the BBC. Bruno Fernandes does some good work in the midfield. Cristiano Ronaldo lays it off to Vitinha, tries one of those through balls again, but Andy Robertson was well positioned and he makes the interception. Here's McTominay midway inside his own half, 2 opponents around him. He's ushered out to the sideline and he's done well to win the throw-in for Scotland from that tight corner there.
The first thing he was trying to do there, McTominay, when he got the ball, was trying to lob it over that right full-back position. There's a couple of similarities with both teams just now. Both seem to be targeting the right full-backs of the opposite side. I mean, it has to be, I don't actually think João Cancelo is a bad player, you know, but certainly Scotland seem to think that Doak may have his pace.
Another appeal for a Scotland free kick. Kenny McLean down bang on the halfway line. Referee ignores those appeals, says play on. In fact, it was Ralston who went down. And play continues. Portugal have it on the halfway line with Vitinha. He'll turn and roll it back to João Palhinha, who's only started 1 game for Vincent Kompany at Bayern Munich this season. Wasn't on the bench for the Poland game at the weekend when Portugal won, but he's in the starting team tonight. As Vitinha has it here, 10 yards into Scotland territory, gives it back to João Cancelo. João Cancelo, who's with the Al Hilal club now in Saudi. He was on loan at Barcelona last season from Manchester City. Got an incredible CV, João Cancelo. Benfica, Valencia, Inter, Juventus, Manchester City, Barcelona, Bayern Munich. I mean, there's very few big teams that he hasn't played for. João Cancelo, as Portugal come attacking down the left-hand side. Here is Diogo Jota. Christie is back helping out Ralston, and that extra help was needed as Scotland managed to briefly win possession. Nuno Mendes tries to get it back, and he's done well to win a free kick. Free kick in a crossing position for Portugal on the left-hand side. Ralston just couldn't get it away there.
To be honest, I'm with the Scotland fans in that one. I think the foul was actually first committed by Nuno Mendes himself there. He'd lost the ball and he just put his body in the way and stopped the Scotland player getting in front of him there, so the referee probably got that one slightly wrong. In fact, I watched it again in the replay and that confirms my suspicion that Scotland should have had the free kick, not Portugal.
There are several Scotland players carrying a yellow card into this game tonight. They would be due a suspension if they were to pick up a yellow here. Ralston, Robertson, Hanley, Gilmore and Christie. So we'll monitor that as the evening progresses. But here's a free kick to Portugal. Ronaldo hoping it comes his way as he loiters on the edge of the box. Played in by Nuno Mendes. And the nearest jump to it was Diogo Jota. It flashed over the fringe of his hairdo. And it's been kept in play on the far side by Bruno Fernandes. He'll give it back to Antonio Silva. Vitinha back out to Conceição on the right hand side, level with the edge of the penalty area that Portugal attack. He's skipped through a challenge and he's taken down, and it's a free kick on the edge of the box. It's a tight angle, but free kick, a good crossing position for Portugal here.
Conceição is lying on the ground rolling about. I mentioned to you before the game that would happen on a number of occasions. There's only the second occasion, but he's not my favourite type of player, it has to be said. He's a winger, he's tricky, but if you go near of him, or even a wisp of air goes near him, he's rolling about as if he's been taken out. It's not my favourite.
Yeah, it was Ralston who took him down there. There is connection, to be fair.
Yeah, yes, he was fouled, yeah, but
quite a dramatic roll around the deck though from...
Having said that, he has played quite well so far. He's got a few very good crosses in.
Yeah, more on him in just a moment. Let's see what Portugal do with this free kick. Bruno Fernandes is over there, Nuno Mendes too. It's Mendes who plays an in-swing, and Gordon pushes it away. That was a shot from Nuno Mendes, who's never scored an international goal. And despite the tight angle here, he went for the top corner, and Gordon has had to make his best save of the night.
Yeah, I mean, Craig Gordon, he must have thought to himself, it's going to be another one of those crosses towards the back post. He's taken a step out as if to go and collect it, then realise this isn't a cross, this is a shot. But he's been agile enough to go and push over.
Scotland hanging on, 0-0 at Hampden, 25 minutes played. Bruno Fernandes floats in the corner kick towards the edge of the area. He's looking for Nuno Mendes. It was cut out by Kenny McLean, unable though to pick out a teammate. Portugal get it back, and it's all the way to Diogo Costa, the Porto goalkeeper, away to our right hand side. As Antonio Silva tries to launch a counter-attack down the other end, but he puts it too far in front of Diogo Jota, and that goes out for a goal kick. But
it's been desperation, hasn't it, from those crosses from the right-hand side for Portugal. Time and again, the ball's been zipped into that area, and you just get a feeling if Scotland allow those crosses to get in, then Robertson in particular doesn't stop them coming in, eventually they'll get something out of it.
Great pressure there. Joe Polinia in on Scott McTominay to win possession, then to force McTominay to stretch into a challenge with his old Man United teammate Bruno Fernandes. And Scott McTominay is going to get a yellow card for that. That is a booking for Scotland's number 4.
I think one of those ones where he's slipped as he's made the challenge, but that doesn't matter. It actually looks quite ugly there. It was nothing surer than the referee was going to give a yellow card for that, and I would not argue with that for a second.
Scott McTominay has been settling in well with Napoli in Naples in Serie A. He now takes a position on the edge of the Scotland penalty area, all hands on deck as they defend this free kick. Cristiano Ronaldo is standing over now. Surely, even for him, this is way too far out to attempt the shot. Oh, they've messed it up between them. Ronaldo and Nuno Mendes both kicked the ball at the same time. They were trying to roll it for each other. I think Ronaldo wanted to take it on and have a shot there. What a mess up of a free kick. And cheers from Scotland as it's cleared away down the other end. Another goal in Belfast, Northern Ireland, Bulgaria. John Southall.
And Northern Ireland have a second. Northern Ireland 2, Bulgaria 0. Dion Charles went down in the penalty area looking for the penalty. It would have been given, but Isaac Price played on. His shot took a deflection, and in it went. Northern Ireland 2, Bulgaria 0.
Thanks very much, John. Here in Hampden, Nuno Mendes has tackled, the ball goes out of play for a throw-in to Portugal, left-hand side. If you're joining our coverage late here, it's been a bright opening to the game. Plenty of activity, particularly inside the Scotland penalty area, but there has yet to be a really clean chance. The nearest that Portugal have had has been that direct free kick from Nuno Mendes, which had to be pushed away by Craig Gordon. Otherwise, it's been crosses that he's mostly had to deal with, and there was one effort from Cristiano Ronaldo that didn't quite have the pace. But there's not been a truly scary moment for Scotland yet in this game.
You could argue Scotland have had the best 2 clearer chances. You know, right at the start, McTominay had a header, 6 or 7 yards out, heads it straight to the goalkeeper, and then indeed there was that shot as well. I think it was from Christie. So, yeah, Scotland, although not having a lot of the possession, are certainly having the odd chance.
If you are tuning our way on 5 Live, you may have been unaware of the news that Thomas Tuchel is about to become the next England manager. More reaction to come at half-time here on 5 Live to that, and plenty of debate on the BBC Sport website, of course, as always, as Grant Hanley prepares to take a free kick for Scotland here just inside his own half, rolls it low to his right-hand side to John Souttar. And Portugal wait to see what Scotland are going to bring at them here. Ralston on the right-hand side, turns away from Diogo Jota, pushes it down the right flank. Che Adams knew that was coming, and he's sprinted in ahead of Antonio Silva. Now, can Scotland get a dangerous ball into a shooting position? Kenny McLean here, back closer to the centre circle, much closer than he was to the Portuguese penalty area, and eventually Portugal have forced Scotland back all the way into their own half. Ralston will try to come forward on the right-hand side, challenged by Nuno Mendes. High foot, free kick, Scotland inside their opponent's half, 0-0.
Yeah, and the referee's trying really hard to calm himself down just now, because he was tempted to go for another yellow card there. But great movement from Adams just before that. More of that and on.
Let's go straight back to Belfast and another goal at Northern Ireland. John Southall.
Unbelievable half hour. Northern Ireland 3, Bulgaria 0. Brodie Spencer with the third, his first for his country. Shot from 20 yards, off the post, off the keeper, in it goes. Northern Ireland 3, Bulgaria 0.
Northern Ireland, who started tonight behind Bulgaria in that table, League C Group 3. That, like this game, was a 7:45 kickoff, so they'll only have played about a half an hour or so there in Northern Ireland. Already 3 goals to the good.
I was talking to Colin Murray this morning. I'm happy I'm not talking to tonight. It won't be able to make any sense. 3-0 up already.
You won't get a word in. Sliding in was John Souttar there, but he doesn't pick out a teammate, and Portugal get it back with Ruben Diaz of Manchester City at the back. Short ball to Joe Polinia, through the midfield to Vitinha. Vitinha, who scored in both legs of the Champions League quarter-final back in April for Paris Saint-Germain. He scored home and away against Barcelona. And Conceição is down on the ground again, which will surprise Pat Nevin not one jot.
Not even slightly. I mean, the assistant referee gave that there. Scotland fans are amazed that was given the free kick. They thought that was a perfectly good tackle.
You might remember Francisco Conceição at the Euros. He was the guy who came on very late. Portugal lead a goal. He scored about a minute after coming on in stoppages. Ronaldo goes for a bicycle kick, and he puts it just wide. It came to him instinctively. He looked for the spectacular, and he tried to swivel his body, and he may be 40 next birthday, but he still had the agility to get his boot to the ball there. I don't think that would have counted anyway. I think the referee's given a free kick for a high boot, and Ronaldo, as you can imagine, doesn't like that idea. But he nearly scored with a bicycle kick there.
But again, it's that same cross, isn't it? From the right-hand side to the back post, nodded back to him. He catches it quite well, but not perfectly. You know, the vast majority of players don't even think about that, do they? And you remember that famous...
We were there together.
It was you and I
know what
yes.
you're going to say. Yeah.
For Real Madrid against Juve, wasn't it?
Yes, in Turin. Yeah, we're lucky enough to see a lot of games, but there's some that you just don't forget, and that was one, that Ronaldo bicycle kick in the Champions League.
One of the joys of that is we looked at each other and then we watched it, everyone on the ground, and all the Italian fans just stood and applauded. I'm not convinced the Scotland fans would have.
And then Juventus went and signed him the very next season after that bicycle kick. Well, Ronaldo nearly lit up the evening with a spectacular goal there. 0-0 for now. Scotland against Portugal. Scotland, who've lost 3 out of 3 in the group so far, hoping to get their first Nations League point of the campaign. After tonight, 2 games to go in November. And just another reminder, the reason it's also important, it affects what pot you go in for the qualifying groups for the World Cup, and it could even get you into the playoffs, regardless of your performance in those regular qualifiers for the World Cup. You could get into the playoffs, as some British teams have already done in recent years. Now here is Sergio Conceição again, down the right-hand side. Francisco Conceição mixing up with his dad. His low cross, though, is straight to Kenny McLean. Scotland will be able to clear the ball away. He's done well to charge away under pressure, and out it goes. But I guess a difficulty at the moment, Pat, for Steve Clarke's team. They win the ball at the back. How can they hold on to it a little bit more? How can they start to cause more pressure themselves?
It is a massive difficulty. The only time they've done it in the last 10 or so minutes is when it was a brilliant run by Adams, who went from centre forward position out towards the right and then held the ball up. And Scotland were able to then push a little bit further forward. Ball comes back. Billy Gilmore controls it for a while, but it's just not happened often enough. Having said that, Adams has just done it again.
Right, bit of space here for Ralston. He's got Christie ahead of him on the right hand side. Right, Christie with the number 11 on his back, plays it in towards Che Adams. Strong defending though from young Antonio Silva, who looks very composed young central defender, partnering Ruben Diaz tonight, and he's set Portugal away in a counter-attack. They come with Conceição down the right-hand side. He plays a 1-2 with João Cancelo. Ronaldo makes a move towards the front post. Here he is. Ronaldo well tracked by Grant Hanley, as the attempted header from Portugal's illustrious number 7 is blocked by Hanley, and Scotland breathe again.
Got to stop the crosses coming in. Just got to stop them. Simple as that. If you're a fullback and you're up against a winger, that's your job. And at the moment, Conceição, time and time again, it's dead easy for him. Doesn't go down the line, just comes back on himself on his left foot and zips in these dangerous crosses. That's 6 or 7 now. Eventually, you've got to think that's going to pay off.
Ronaldo, who's always had incredible aerial ability, and just a reminder there of the threat that he poses. He reacted. He was already moving towards the front post before the cross came in. It was a sixth sense from him there, but Hanley matched him, kept up with him, and was able to make a very important block. 0-0 at Hampden, 34 minutes, so just over 10 minutes of normal time to go until the break. Nuno Mendes on the left for Portugal, needs triangular passing. Vitinha gives it back to Antonio Silva. Crossfield ball for him towards Francisco Conceição, but he shows too much of it to Robertson, who's unlucky. Andy Robertson nipped in to win the ball, but it went out of play before he brought it back in again, and that's why it's a throw into Portugal. Still no goals.
I think Andy Robertson will be happy with that, because he's having a difficult time over there against his winger. He usually wants to get forward and ask the winger questions about defending.
Yeah.
He's not had a chance to do that tonight, has he?
Is it more difficult, Pat? You mentioned that they've got rid of the back 5, the 3 central defenders. Is it harder for Robertson to get forward? Oh, as Craig Gordon slides right to the edge, the very, very periphery of his penalty area there, and is very close to handling it outside the box, but he was just on the line, just.
Do you know, Scotland at their very, very best. They've got Tierney and they've got Robertson, both playing together. One is the left centre back of a 3 and the other going flying forward and them taking it in spells. That's Scotland at their very best. I think the problem is Scotland don't have Tierney, so they're having to play Robertson as basically a fullback, and that's not what we really want from him.
Here come Portugal. Ronaldo onto Diogo Jota. Conceição knew that João Cancelo was on the overlap, and it's blocked away out for a corner. Ben Doak tracking back to help out Andy Robertson there. Portugal would love this opening goal ahead of half-time, but it's another attacking set piece for them.
Robertson has been one of the great players in Scotland's recent history, and a huge amount of caps. He's not engaging at all with his winger. He's just, going back, saying, well, go and put the cross in. You can't do that.
And they should know each other well. Ben Doak, a Liverpool player, albeit at loan at Middlesbrough, but they'll have been in training so many times over the years.
I'm very, very surprised that Conceição is getting those crosses in far too easily. And you're right, Doak could maybe come back and help, but if it's Robertson against Conceição's winning just now.
Space here for João Cancelo, who's come over to the left wing, and he tries to play in a left-footed cross, won by the first defender, John Souttar. Christie tries to relieve a bit of pressure, but he loses his footing, and Nuno Mendes will cut it back into the midfield, where Bruno Fernandes scans the horizon, looks for what the options are, gives it to Conceição, because that's been a fruitful tactic so far. Portugal keep the ball zipping around here on the edge of the Scotland penalty area. Now it's played in. Nuno Mendes is up. Diogo Jota, left-footed cross, blocked by Hanley, who takes the sting out of it, and it pops into the grateful arms of Craig Gordon. Scotland breathe again.
Yeah, but they're hanging on your absolute fingernails at this point in time. Watching Stevie Clarke down there, and he knows that this cannot keep on going on. He's going to have to adapt it slightly. He's talking to his coaches down there. What does he adapt? He won't make a change, I don't think so, before half time. But they're not holding the ball in midfield. It's not sticking up front. And when it goes up to Adams, he's got no one within about 40 yards of him at the moment. It's really, really hard to see Scotland surviving this. They've got 7 minutes to survive between now and half time, and I think they take 0-0 at this second right now.
Good high press from Scotland here. McTominay sprinted in on Diogo Costa, and Portugal have given it away on the edge of their own penalty area. McLean always crosses behind Ben Doak. That's disappointing from Kenny McLean of Norwich City, trying to play it into Ben Doak, who's in the penalty area with an unsettled Portuguese defence waiting it, but it goes too high and out for a goal kick. It feels little opportunities that they won't get many of them tonight, but if Portugal make a mistake at the back, that's when Scotland have to pounce and be ruthless.
Well, you say they won't get many of them tonight. I felt that immediately when that chance was missed at the start by McTominay. Don't throw away many chances like that.
Hang on, they might be about to get another one. That's a poor clearance out for the back from Portugal there. Ralston has it on the right hand side, plays a little 1-2 with Ryan Christie, and then turns and rolls it back to the half. And a few groans from Scotland fans who want to see a bit more attacking ambition from their team. 6.5 minutes to go to half time. McLean inside the centre circle. That's a nice delicate chip out towards Robertson. Oh, but he's beaten to it by an alert João Cancelo, and there's a chance of a counter-attack here as the former Manchester City man comes sprinting forward. Tries to play it into the penalty area. Well intercepted by Grant Hanley. João Cancelo fights to get it back again, but the whistle goes against him. Free kick to Scotland on the edge of their own penalty area, still 0-0.
Scotland got very, very lucky there. I'm not convinced that was a free kick. And had they not won that free kick, they were in all sorts of dangers. But with Scotland have had the chance finally to get Robertson forward. They've seen him and Doak, they managed to lose the ball, and immediately they're in massive trouble. And the thing about very good teams that technically know what they're doing, when they see a weakness, when they see a gap, particularly left back when your full back's gone, they are straight in there. And once again, Scotland just about hanging on. By the way, I've watched that again. That was never a free kick. Scotland got lucky.
It's a free kick taken by Craig Gordon, left-footed, good distance on it. McTominay jumping in the air with João Palhinha. Portuguese player got his touch to it, but he couldn't keep possession. Che Adams tries a surprise element shot from well outside the penalty area, cannons off a defender. But that's the sort of quick thinking that Scotland need a little bit more of tonight, as Che Adams looking to add to his tally of 6 international goals in the past. Bruno Fernandes feeds it to Nuno Mendes on the left-hand side. Portugal getting bodies forward. Here's Vitinha, midway inside Scottish territory. Central location. Steadies himself, rolls it out to Conceição on the right-hand side, who's a left-footed player playing on the right wing, cuts back in on his left boot, poor pass, gives it to Che Adams. Can Scotland hold on to it here? Ben Doak wins it well under pressure, tries to smuggle it back into a teammate, but there's just no room as Portugal swarm around, and Bruno Fernandes picks out a pass to Vitinha, and Cristiano Ronaldo places his attempt over the top. He did have a defender right in front of him, but by his exalted standards, he'll be disappointed not to have hit the target there.
Are we allowed to say it? Cristiano, every time you get the ball, you don't need to have a shot. Every time it comes to you, wherever you are, be it an overhead kick, be it your left foot, be it your right foot, he doesn't seem to look ever for anyone else. Now, at this point in time, you can say to me, yes, he scored 1 or 2 goals in his career, and you kind of get that, but I don't think that was the right decision.
Cristiano Ronaldo did not get where he is today on 133 international goals by thinking of alternatives to taking shots.
By giving us stuff about anybody else. Good point.
I'll tell you what, there's been a few shots in Belfast this evening. Northern Ireland against Bulgaria. The latest from John Southall.
Well, Northern Ireland still lead by 3-0, but Bulgaria have just missed a penalty. Kirill Despidov smashed it against the crossbar. Have to say, it looked a soft decision to give the penalty, but it's been missed. Northern Ireland 3, Bulgaria 0.
Colin Murray will be in touch later on. This is going to be his night. This is 5 Live for the BBC. Half-time approaching at Hampden. Scotland, in truth, hanging on here. And Steve Clarke will be relishing getting the team into the dressing room at half-time and seeing if he can rejig things a little bit to stop this continued onslaught of pressure from an albeit very good Portuguese team who are living up to their billing tonight. They've arrived as the top dog in the groups. They've had 3 wins out of 3 so far. Illustrious team of superstars, and they've looked good. The biggest surprise is they haven't scored. Here is Ruben Diaz, passes it out to Nuno Mendes on the left-hand side with the bright orange boots, back infield to Vitinha. It's moments like this where Scotland need to get tighter. They do on Bruno Fernandes, and then Grant Hanley up and under, hoops it away all the way to the halfway line, and the pattern can begin again.
It's attack against defence here, and Scotland are pure defence. The ease in which the Portuguese go through the phases, back to middle to front, never lose the ball, always comfortable on it. Scotland cannot get a foothold on it at all, and seeing very little Billy Gilmore. If Scotland are going to do it, they're going to have to try and get him on the ball.
The last time Portugal came here to Glasgow was 2018. Stephen Naismith scored for Scotland, but Portugal won the game by 3-1. Scotland haven't beaten the Portuguese since 1980. As Ronaldo has it here, 10 yards inside the penalty area, left-hand side, gives it into Ruben Diaz. Now João Palhinha over to his right-hand side into Antonio Silva. They keep it moving. Conceição now on the edge of the box, returns to João Cancelo. That's really slick. Here's a good cross. Up goes Ronaldo, beaten to it by Ralston, and then Vitinha volleys over the top from the edge of the penalty area, central location. But to Scotland's relief, he couldn't keep it down. 0-0.
The number of crosses has been incredible. Now, to be fair, Scotland have defended quite well, and Craig Gordon's come out quite a few times. Both centre-backs, particularly Hanley, but Suter as well, have been good in the air. But you have to keep on doing it, maybe above everyone else. The one that's been generally very, very impressive has been Ralston at that back post. I mean, it's been last gasp stuff most of the time, but once again there, he manages to get his head onto it. But you just cannot keep doing that.
There's been a feeling in this campaign that Scotland have tried to be a bit more adventurous. They certainly tried in the opening game against Poland here and lost an exciting game 3-2. They're finding it difficult, though, to be adventurous tonight as McTominay again gives the ball away in that crowded midfield, and Bruno Fernandes spins it over the top towards Ronaldo, who miscontrols, much to the amusement of the Tartan army. Scotland have it inside their own half. This is Suter to his right-hand side to Ralston of Celtic. Che Adams made a run and he's disappointed that Ralston didn't feed it earlier towards him. But it's safety first as Gilmore turns and rolls it back to Craig Gordon.
Well, you can really relax a little bit just now, because that's been quite poor from Cristiano Ronaldo. You have to be honest about it. Really poor touches on quite a few occasions. But he doesn't care, does he? He always wants it again. He'll always try and take a shot. He'll always try and get into the right positions. But at the moment, I keep on looking down at Scotland and think, why can't you hold the ball here? And the amount of players that have had bad touches, this is almost as if they are a little bit more tired. The Portuguese look, they've got a little bit more sharpness about them. There's a real comfort about them. The Scots, to me, look as if that tiredness is affecting their play.
Scotland have lost their 3 games in this group, all by a single goal. Beaten late by Poland here at Hampden, beaten away in Portugal. Ronaldo scored the winner there. Beaten in Croatia at the weekend. Can the tide turn for Steve Clarke tonight? This game level for now as the referee blows the whistle for half-time. So they've used up a few of their 9 lives, but Scotland is still in this, Pat Nevin.
Yeah, and that's going to happen sometimes. You're playing against very good teams. You need to defend well. You all need to work together, but that's not exactly what Stevie Clarke wants at home. He wants periods of the game where you can hold it, control it, and apart from that first 5-10 minutes and maybe just the odd break, they have been utterly and completely dominated for this first half by what is a very good Portuguese team who probably cannot believe they're not ahead just now.
Yeah, Scotland's attacking goal scorers have not been involved that much. Scott McTominay, Ben Doak, who's got an excitement about him, Che Adams, who's been scoring a few goals for Torino. But Scotland need to get the ball up to them. At the moment, they're just hanging on. It is Scotland 0, Portugal 0 at half-time.
Connor and Pat, thank you very much. We'll be back with Connor McNamara and Pat Nevin for the second half of that game live from Hampden Park on 5 Live Sport. Northern Ireland also in action there against Bulgaria. It's half-time and John Southall is watching.
Now Northern Ireland lead by 3-0. You don't see this very often. Northern Ireland scoring 3 goals in a half, but they have been terrific. It's a really young team, remember, so dominant, great energy, intensity. 3 up within 32 minutes. The first, Dion Charles did brilliantly down the left, picked out Isaac Price, and he scored from 7 yards. Price added a second, his shot deflected in. Then the third, Brody Spencer's 20-yarder, off the post, off the keeper. Dimitar Mitov own goal, denying Spencer his first international goal. Then just before half-time, Despotovov hit the bar from the penalty spot. But quite frankly, Bulgaria have been swept aside. Half-time, Northern Ireland 3, Bulgaria 0.
John, thank you very much. And John Southall will keep us across that game when the second half gets underway. Coming up, more from the big story of another of the home nations. Thomas Tuchel has agreed to become the new England manager. And we'll have reaction to Jonas Eidevall's resignation as Arsenal head coach after the latest BBC News with Nick Hatfield.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Thank you, Kelly. Good evening. The US has told the Israeli government it has 30 days to increase humanitarian aid access in Gaza or risk having some military assistance cut off. The UN has called the situation in northern Gaza desperate, with little food and a large number of civilian casualties. A court has heard that 10-year-old Sarah Sharif wore a hijab to hide injuries in the months before she died. Sarah's body was found at the family home in Woking in Surrey last August. Her father, stepmother and uncle deny her murder. Our correspondent Helena Wilkinson has been at the Old Bailey.
The prosecutor, Bill Elman Jones, KC, said that the hijab was indicative of the need to conceal injuries to her face and head from the outside world. The jury also heard that Sarah Sharif's school, staff at the school, noticed a number of bruises on the little girl in the months before she died, and that she was taken out of school by her father in April of 2023. He wanted to take her out, withdraw her from school to be homeschooled.
Sir Keir Starmer has denied that increasing national insurance contributions for employers would break a promise made in the Labour election manifesto. Speculation that a rise could be announced in the budget later this month has been growing since the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, suggested the party's promise may not apply to businesses. The UK could see new rules which should mean all new electronic devices have to have the same type of charging cable. The EU is planning to introduce laws in December for a standardised charger to cut down on waste. It's something the UK government is now also considering. And French police say they've broken up a criminal gang which was making fake versions of some of the country's most expensive wines. They would forge labels onto cheaper wines, sometimes selling the bottles for thousands of euros.
Jack Leach takes the final wicket. In fact, he's cleaned them up today. The match is over and England have won an incredible victory in Multan.
England are taking on Pakistan in a 3-match test series.
Joe Root has done it. He's become the highest scoring Englishman in test match history.
Ball-by-ball commentary on the second test continues tomorrow morning from 6 on 5 Sports Extra.
And keep up to date with the TMS podcast on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Kelly Cates.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
It's half-time at Hampden Park. It's Scotland 0, Portugal 0. Scotland keeping Portugal very much at bay. Can they hold them off for another 45 minutes? Second half coming up very shortly. The big story of the day, though, is that former Chelsea boss Thomas Tuchel has agreed to become the next England manager. Tuchel will become the third non-British permanent manager of the England men's team after Sven-Göran Eriksson and Fabio Capello. Let's bring in German football expert Archie Rintut. Good evening, Archie. How has this been received in Germany?
Evening, Kelly. It's headline news, but I think the bigger point is how is Thomas Tuchel perceived? Because
that was the next question.
in the he's not viewed with the warmth and the favourable eye that Jurgen Klopp is in Germany. So it's not like everybody's going to be saying, the team I'll be looking out for after Germany at the next major tournament will be England because Thomas Tuchel's in charge. He's never had that vibe to him, despite having managed the two biggest clubs now in German football. And that's what makes it really interesting is I think that he didn't get the results ultimately at Bayern that he would have wanted, but there were qualities that were shown there, which I think made him attractive to the FA on top of obviously winning the Champions League before with Chelsea. So I think that here it's obviously a big headline, but it's not got the same attraction to it, say, as the Jurgen Klopp Red Bull story, for example. That I think has caused bigger waves than this will. Yeah,
that's caused huge controversy and obviously to be talked about elsewhere. But in terms of the appointment of Thomas Tuchel, he's coming into this new challenge at international level. And one of the things that's been pointed out about him across the course of, well, really just today, because that's when the story has gained traction, is that he's very flexible tactically as a coach and that might be really well suited to international level.
He is. But he's also very much got his ideas, and right. There's an approach that he has. And at Chelsea, it was successful. At Bayern, I would say, because he was accused of his team was accused of being boring in January. And when we think about the discourse surrounding England, and it's let's play with the handbrake off. So I think that you can expect a controlled but dominant kind of football that he'll want to play. And the question for me is with the squad is he will make tough decisions that I think Gareth Southgate was trying to where he was trying to satisfy maybe too many top players when you look at the sides that he was picking in the Euros. And I think that Thomas Tuchel will say...
Name names, Archie.
Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka, Harry Kane. Do all of these players fit in a side, I think is the thing. And Thomas Tuchel will go, I'm going to make this decision because I believe this is the right way to do it. And I think that he'll have less qualms about upsetting people, which will be very interesting to watch in both how that plays out in the media in England and how that plays out in terms of the squad dynamics and how he gets players on side and how he gets players to try and accept that they're not going to have the same star role that they have at club level.
There's sort of three central pillars to this, aren't there? There's how things work with the players, and that comes down to issues that you've talked about, like man management and also the tactics of it. There's also the relationship with the FA itself and how he manages up the ladder. And then there's that kind of front-facing side that you talked about in terms of the media that obviously, is part of that you can dealing with sponsors and that kind of thing. But the managing up aspect is going to be really interesting to watch, isn't it?
Completely, because he did have a fantastic relationship at Chelsea with the Roman Abramovich hierarchy before that takeover of Todd Boehly ensued, and then things went south. And the way that things went after the takeover happened aligns more with how he's viewed in Germany, where he had huge fallouts at Borussia Dortmund with Aki Watzke, the CEO, who publicly would go on the record and say that he wasn't Tuchel's biggest fan after Tuchel left, which is actually quite rare in football, where everybody tends to try and play nicely, I think, in the media. And it's a similar case, really, at Bayern, where even if Uli Hoeneß wasn't directly pulling the strings, he's renowned as the most influential guy at Bayern, and still has a seat on the board at least. And Hoeneß has been very derogatory about Tuchel's impact and influence there. So I think that Thomas Tuchel's a guy, he just wants to get on with the football side of things, and he doesn't have much time for the games around it, even though he seems to always get involved in them. So I think it's going to be a case of can he be left to do things as he was at Chelsea, but it's the England job. And you and I know that this is a job where everybody wants to have their say, and how he copes with the expectations of the press is, I think that he won't have a problem with it. I think it will be actually more interesting to see how the press handle how Thomas Tuchel handles them. And I think that he'll not have as much time for them as Gareth Southgate did, in terms of trying to understand every point of view.
Archie, pleasure talking to you. You've made this sound absolutely box office, whichever way it goes, with Thomas Tuchel. I'm very much looking forward to this. Archie, thank you very much. Lovely to talk to you. Archie Rintut giving us the German perspective on Thomas Tuchel, who has agreed to become the next England manager, yet to have an official announcement for the FA. Dan Rowan was telling us earlier on that is expected to come tomorrow, but we'll keep across that on 5 Live Sports. Elsewhere today, Jonas Eidevall has resigned as Arsenal head coach. The club are currently 6th in the WSL. They've won just one of their opening 4 games this season. 5 Live's Vicky Sparks joins us now. Hi, Vicky. I feel like this isn't a huge surprise. The people have been talking about this for a little while now.
Yeah, good evening, Kelly. Yeah, he's been under pressure for a while, and particularly over the last few months. There have been key developments in that time. The decision to let the WSL and Arsenal's record goalscorer, Viviana Miedema, leave after running down her contract. It was the club's decision. They decided not to offer her a new contract. She's now at Manchester City, one of their huge rivals in the WSL. So that happened over the summer. And I think a lot of focus, because of that decision and because of Arsenal's performances over the last couple of seasons, have really honed in on what has Eidevall won at the club. He leaves after just over 3 years in charge, and he's won 2 League Cups. He beat Chelsea in the final of both of those. That's no mean feat, particularly a Chelsea under Emma Hayes. But they haven't won the WSL title, the big one, since 2019. And, you know, they've got a really difficult Champions League draw this year, which hasn't helped them out. They have made it through to the group stages, but they're going to face a real battle to get out of it. And as you say, 1 win in 4. Yes, you know, 2 of those games were against Chelsea and Manchester City. They're big rivals. And I was at the Chelsea game on Saturday at the Emirates, and they were awful for the first 20 minutes. They were 2-0 down early on, shambolic defending at times, and it did raise the question, are this group of players still playing for him? I think the interesting thing, Kelly, is that in the second half, they were the better side, and actually overall from the game, you felt they perhaps deserved a point. So the players almost answered that question. But, you know, as you say, he has resigned. You know, he has gone to the club and said this. You know, whether the club would have taken action themselves independently and when that might have happened, that question was still very live. But yeah, it's a big call from him, and it's going to be a big call for Arsenal in terms of who they bring in next.
Oh, well, that's going to be we're going to move on to that, absolutely, in terms of what might happen. But, you know, at that game that you were at the Emirates on Saturday, that 2-1 defeat by Chelsea, as you said, it was a poor first half performance, much improved in the second half. But how was he received by the crowd? What were they saying? Were there grumblings? Was there outright hostility? What was it like?
So certainly after the first 16 minutes, people were not happy. There were even, you know, after the improved second half performance, there were shouts, the odd shout or two of Jonas out that I heard on the way out as the fans, you know, leaving the stadium made their frustration known. There was also a fan after the game, we saw pictures on social media, had daubed that on one of the walls by the bridges by the Emirates, a huge, you know, in white letters, Jonas out. So and that I think was a turning point. But I think the thing is as well, Kelly, you know, we've seen managers in the WSL at big clubs, Mark Skinner particularly at Manchester United last season, and Gareth Taylor at times has faced questions with poor patches for Manchester City, but clubs have stuck with them, and that has tended to be the trend, particularly at the big sides. Managers seem to have been able to ride out these storms. Of course, every club's different and approaches things in different ways, but because that's been the pattern in the WSL, I think there is perhaps still a little bit of a surprise that, it is still early on in the season. They've had some really difficult games. Of course, there are these questions about letting Miedemar go and the wider success that he's had, and is he really the right man? But a lot of those questions were there in the summer and a decision wasn't made then. So is this start to the season the final nail in the coffin, as it were, or is it still slightly surprising that at this stage? But as we say, it's him that has, seemingly initiated this decision to step down, of course, with conversations that will have gone on behind the scenes at the club as well.
Yeah, that's what I think is quite interesting in terms of what happens next, which is the point that you raised, because he has resigned, and while there will have been conversations behind the scenes, it's slightly different from the club taking control of the situation, and we don't know exactly what's gone on behind the scenes. But so who takes charge now, and what will Arsenal be looking for?
Well, they've gone for an interim coach, Arsenal, for a couple of games. His assistant, Renee Sledgers, so she's going to be in charge for the next couple of games. They're actually in Champions League action this week. They're playing a huge game against Vålerenga. That group is so difficult for them, as we say, Bayern Munich, Juventus, Arsenal. Vålerenga is a side that they absolutely have to beat if they're to try and get through against those other big hitters of Bayern and Juve. So she'll be in charge for the short term, his former assistant. One name that jumps out in terms of what fans are talking about is the former Manchester United manager Casey Stoney. Used to play for Arsenal, so we'll see what happens.
Watch this space. Vicky Sparks, for now, thank you very much. Good to talk to you. And if you want to hear more about Jonas Eidevall leaving Arsenal, it's in the latest episode of 5 Live's Women's Football Weekly podcast. You can download that right now from BBC Sounds. They also talk about Serena Wiegmann's latest England squad, including the inclusion of Chloe Kelly, possibly a surprise due to her kind of falling out of favour at Manchester City. Much more on that in the Women's Football Weekly podcast, which you can get from BBC Sounds. In the meantime, we're going to head back to Hampden for the second half of Scotland against Portugal with Pat Nevin and Conor McNamara.
Thanks, Kelly. Just back underway for the second half. No changes in personnel. Scotland 0, Poland 0. In the top tier of the Nations League. Ronaldo, who's had one or two glimpses. Portugal have dominated possession. And Scotland, Pat Nevin, who'll want to see more of the ball in attacking areas in this second half.
Well, we watched in the first half, it was 70% possession for Portuguese in the first half. And in a game away from home against the Scottish team, who what they're aiming to get is get good possession, and they've got a number of players that are capable of doing that. Just sadly for Scotland, they're not capable of doing it against one of the best teams in the world in Portugal. And the other thing about Portugal, one of the best teams in the world, they've also got a hell of a lot on that bench that they can bring on that's going to be fresh as this second half carries on. Whereas I don't know if Scotland have got a great deal that can add something special.
You look through many of Portugal's recent games, they do tend to score a lot of goals in the second half. Scotland, who held Poland scoreless here last month, the Poles did score 3 goals in the second half, and Steve Clarke will be hoping that his team get a real grip of this now. 0-0 for the moment as Gordon plays it left-footed up towards Che Adams. Adams-Jones wins a flick-on header, but it's too far in front of Ryan Christie and easily mopped up by Nuno Mendes. So Scotland's team with Gordon in goal, back 4, Anthony Ralston, John Souttar, Grant Hanley and Andy Robertson. In the midfield, Billy Gilmore, Kenny McLean, Scott McTominay pushing on, Ben Doak on one side, Ryan Christie on the other, and Che Adams leading the line on what is his 35th cap for Scotland. So the Portugal team, Diogo Costa in goal, back 4 of João Cancelo, Ruben Dias, Antonio Silva and Nuno Mendes. In midfield, a 3 of Bruno Fernandes, João Palhinha and Vitinha, and then a front 3, Francisco Conceição on the right with Ronaldo and Diogo Jota inside of him. Nuno Mendes here rolls it back to Ruben Dias once again. Diogo Costa, the Portuguese goalkeeper who was in goal for Porto in their recent Europa League game against Manchester United. We brought you that game live here on 5 Live, and Diogo Costa made 2 mistakes for the opening 2 Manchester United goals in that game. He was beaten at his near post on both occasions. He's not really been tested tonight as Diogo Jota comes in the attack down the other end, pulls it back, Ronaldo! Put too much power on the header, sends it over the top. Well, my first thought, Pat Nevin, was he's got time to chest this down, you know, but he tried from further out than the penalty spot. He tried to power a header and he got too much on it over the top.
But weirdly, of the players that are capable of doing it, he is one of them. He can header it from about 16 yards or whatever. He's got plenty of power on it, as you say, but just over the crossbar. But again, the ease in which the Portuguese got in there, and Scotland's holding the ball in the midfield's been, it's actually really poor at the moment. And even the players that are good at generally controlling it and holding it haven't had a good one. Billy Gilmore gave the ball away just a few moments ago. He would go through the entire games not giving the ball away. He's giving it all away far too much. And as I say that, the next player I'm going to say the same about is McTominay. Not holding the ball well at all today. You've got to do much better at this level.
Cristiano Ronaldo, who's enjoyed his trip to Scotland so far. There was images on social media, video of him having fun on a water slide at the Scotland team hotel. He was full of beams and smiles as Flower of Scotland was boomed out before kick-off, but for a man who prides himself on his goal scoring, he's not quite had his shooting boots on so far tonight. Scotland 0, Portugal 0 on 5 Live for the BBC at Hampden. Here's Billy Gilmore. Little pocket of space for him in the normally crowded midfield. Gives it to Ralston on the right hand side. McTominay makes himself available, tracked by Nuno Mendes. Back to Billy Gilmore, now McLean. Scotland getting a few passes together inside their opponent's half, but ultimately having to retreat back into their own territory. Grant Hanley will now bring it forward on the left hand side, gives it to Andy Robertson. Forward to Ben Doak. Good work from Conceição to try and drop them, but Doak is a slippery customer and he weaves away from a challenge, and then he runs into Antonio Silva, and that's a free kick to Scotland, and it's a yellow card for the Portuguese defender. And that, in an instant, is why Ben Doak, as Scotland fans, so exciting. He nearly created something from nothing there.
To be honest, that's one of the best pieces of play that Scotland have had, and it was a build-up from the right to the left. I mean, everybody got the passes away. There was a wee bit more confidence, and you get a feeling that Stevie Clark said, don't worry, things aren't always going to go right. Keep on trying to do the right things. Believe in yourselves. And just for a moment there, didn't look too bad.
It's a free kick to Scotland's crossing position on the left-hand side. Robertson is standing over it, so too Billy Gilmore. Gilmore runs over it. Robertson, great delivery, punched out by the goalkeeper, and there'd been a push on Diogo Jota, is it, or is it João Palhinha? One of them anyway. There was a push in the penalty area. Free kick to Portugal, and that good delivery from Robertson goes to waste.
Well, that sort of thing's what Scotland kind of live for, because you get the centre-backs, both of them come up, you get Suter coming up, Hanley come up, you know how good that McTominay is in the air, and a little bit of a shame that came to nothing, just a free kick. To be honest, I've watched it a second time and there's not a lot in that.
Ben Doak only had 9 touches of the ball in the first half. He'll want to get involved a bit more. Here he is now in possession again. Tries to skip away from Vitinha. Good tricky footwork by, he's giving it away. He's giving it away to Conceição. Here's Ronaldo. Back to Conceição. Should have scored. Puts it over the top. Ben Doak, lucky boy. He was trying to hold on to a dribble that had run away from him. There was a few touches too many there. Doak gives it away, and a rapid 1-2 between Conceição and Ronaldo ends with the shot over the top.
Yeah, again, players giving the ball away, not even necessarily under huge amounts of pressure, but in very dangerous areas. And to be fair, it's very unlike Scotland. It's not the way they've been playing of late. It's been a very disjointed performance in that way, particularly in the midfield areas. This time, Doak, your heart freezes when you do that, doesn't it? As a player, you give it away and you realise that players have gone beyond you. Scotland got a wee bit lucky there. Conceição's finish was dreadful.
0-0 it remains. Portugal in possession. And it's passed back to the halfway line to Antonio Silva. He's got Francisco Conceição of Juventus on the right hand side. Back into Antonio Silva. Only 20 years of age. He's already played over 100 games for Benfica, Antonio Silva. Cross on the right-hand side from Conceição is intended for Ronaldo, but cut out. And then João Cancelo too forceful in his attempts to win the ball from Kenny McLean. And that's going to be a free kick to Scotland. Scotland players appealing that maybe there should be further sanction there, and a yellow for João Cancelo, but the referee says a free kick is sufficient.
Yeah, that is a free kick, but again, you win the ball there. You've got to break away with it, but Kenny McLean's just caught a little bit sluggish trying to get the ball away. Scotland were breaking. You don't get time. You need to zip it. You need to play it quickly. And at that point in time it was a free kick, no more than that, not necessarily a yellow card, which the Scotland players and fans are looking for.
Kenny McLean, who's now started all 4 Nations League games in this group, seems to be more to the fore now since Callum McGregor's international retirement. As Bruno Fernandes does well to wriggle out of a tight corner, but then Conceição can't control and Scotland get it back again. Robertson on to Ben Doak. His presence is more evident in the second period. Plays a 1-2 with the captain Robertson. Infield to McLean once again. Scotland playing from right to left as we look down. Robertson level with the edge of the penalty area. A touch to steady himself. Swings in the goals. Che Adams gets up but can't get a firm forward on it. Christie was behind him. It flashes through the penalty area. Nearly for Scotland, who want a corner, but they're not going to get it after all that.
Yeah, got a decent ball in there. And good work, a little bit more understanding there between Doak and Robertson. You know, when you put them on the left-hand side, because they're both attack-minded players, you're expecting a little bit more of them going forward. It hasn't happened that much in the game so far. That was much better. Difficult one for Adams to get on the end of. But Scotland, that's a little bit of a lift. That's raised the spirits around here a wee bit.
Che Adams, who scored against Gibraltar in a pre-Euros friendly, that's been his only international goal in the last 2 years, but he did well to get into the position there, and if Scotland can keep that up, this could still be a famous night at Hampden. Scotland 0, Portugal 0. Antonio Silva has it at the back for the Portuguese in their change strip. João Cancelo tries to brush off Ben Doak on the halfway line, turns back at himself and rolls it for Antonio Silva once again. Scotland's Nations Group campaign concludes next month when they host Croatia here in Glasgow, and then Steve Clarke's team travel to Poland for the last day of the group. That'll be in Warsaw, November 18th. Portugal will host Poland next, that's in Porto in November, and then they travel to Croatia for that last game in the group. Here's Nuno Mendes, crossing position on the left-hand side, tries a trick, oh, it's worked, he's gone through Ralston, did it go over the byline? It did. Ball out of play before he dragged it back in again. The ball ends up in the back of the Scotland net, but it's not going to count. Flag was raised, whistle was blown, goal kick to Scotland.
He's an interesting player, Nuno Mendes. He's nominally a left full-back. The amount of time he spends almost as a left winger and flying towards the byline and getting in at the back post. I mean, he's had quite a few mistakes in this game so far, but he is actually always dangerous.
Cracking game, the other game in this group. Poland and Croatia, the other teams. Poland 2, Croatia 3. And like us, they've played around about 10-11 minutes in the second half in that game being played in Poland this evening. This is League A Group 1 of the Nations League, and here comes Conceição scurrying away down the right wing into the penalty area for Portugal, tries to cross but it's blocked by Robertson. Important to stop those kind of moments at source, and cheers from the Hampden crowd as the ball goes out of play for a Scotland throw.
Yeah, and again Robertson tried to dive in at that ball there, missed it completely, but got back there and managed to stop the cross coming in eventually. But I tell you what, there's not many times that Andy Robertson's had as difficult games as this in his Scottish international career, and even in his time at Liverpool, it has to be said, rarely getting forward and under pressure from Conceição all the way through it.
Northern Ireland still leading Bulgaria by 3-0. 2 goals from Isaac Price, and there was an own goal as well. Here is Ryan Christie, halfway line for Scotland, allowed to turn. He's taken on an ambitious crossfield ball here, and he's executed it well, right onto the instep of Ben Doak. Lays it off to Robertson, back to Ben Doak again, back to Robertson again. Urgings from the Scotland crowd for them to get on with it, to get it forward a bit more, but it's a safe retreat. Back to the 2 central defenders again. John Souttar looks up, doesn't see any option that he fancies, but then he picks a decent ball to McTominay here, who's attacking the penalty area, and he pulls it back for Christie. Good challenge. João Cancelo in from right back, was able to win the ball, and just as Scotland thought they were going to work their way into the Portugal penalty area, it's won back by the visitors again.
Yeah, but a little bit more hopeful there. There was an overlap there, 2 players on the left hand side. Christie couldn't quite get it out there, so you know, there are little gaps, just the odd 1 or 2.
The hour mark is approaching. Ronaldo comes charging down the left wing, tries to give it into Diogo Jota. Bruno Fernandes collects here and plays it out to the right wing, and Doak with the interception ahead of Conceição. It's a throw into Portugal on the right hand side. 0-0 it remains. 5 live and BBC Sounds tonight. In the Nations League at Hampden in Glasgow, João Palhinha gives it short to João Cancelo, lovely feet, on to Conceição again, level with the edge of the penalty area that Portugal attack, down the right hand side, Robertson steps off him, Conceição bounces into the box, tries to get a shot away, maybe now in his right boot, blocked away off Hanley and out for a corner. He's a tricky customer, low centre of gravity Conceição, and he nearly wriggled his way through there.
To be honest, yeah, I'll give you all that, and his crosses have been good, I'll give you that as well. But as a winger playing against a fullback, give me 10 yards. I'll be delighted you give me 10 yards. You know, you need to get close to him. You need to ask him more questions. He is getting the freedom of Hampden Park at the moment.
Corner to Portugal to be taken by Bruno Fernandes of Manchester United. Raises his right hand as a signal to the teammates at the moment. There's a buffer in front of Ronaldo. Oh, it comes in and hits the post. It was right along the byline and it wallops off the front post, and out it goes for a goal kick, and a bit of a waste for Bruno Fernandes.
It is. It's one of those ones, had he taken it with his left foot and bent it in, you'd have thought that was a great effort at scoring. Actually, that was just a poor one because it was his right foot and it was an outswinger, and you don't score with an outswinger from a corner.
Bruno Fernandes, who scored against Scotland last month in Lisbon. In total, he is up to 24 international goals. He's yet to score for Manchester United this campaign, which is a surprising one for Bruno Fernandes, who's been a regular scorer of goals for Manchester United over the past few seasons. Scotland tried to hassle and create, and Gilmour's done well to hold on to possession there. Now Robertson, he sent it over the top just as Ben Doak checked his run, and that was a cross of wires between the two Scotland teammates there, and the ball over the top is comfortably mopped up as Portugal prepared to make their first changes of the evening, and already the sight of their number 10, Bernardo Silva, wonderful player, a Manchester City playmaker, about to come on. And this just shows the strength available to Roberto Martinez tonight. The other player who's being prepared is Ruben Neves, once of Wolves and now plays in Saudi.
And I think Leao's coming on as well. The three of them. And Scotland, who looked to me a little bit leggy. The last thing they wanted to do is see players like that coming on just tonight. And I'm not surprised that Martinez has made the first changes, if I'm honest with you, because they absolutely feel as if they should be winning this game just now.
Interception on the halfway line by Ruben Diaz. Just stumbles a little bit. Che Adams sees the opportunity and nips in to try and win the ball. Down he goes, Che Adams, free kick to Scotland. Right hand side as they come forward. Then there's a tussle because Che Adams wanted to grab the ball to take the free kick quickly, and Ruben Diaz didn't want to, and it was like a mini game of rugby there as they both clung onto it and tried to scrummage with each other, and eventually the referee separates them and it will be a free kick to Scotland. So here comes the changes. First to be introduced is Bernardo Silva, and he'll be coming on to replace Diogo Jota. I'd imagine that Leao will come on to play in the left wing position. João Palhinha making way as well. That'll be who Ruben Neves will take the position of. And the fourth official very quickly showing the other one, it's Conceição. So it is Leao and Bernardo Silva in place of Conceição and Jota, and it is Ruben Neves in place of João Palhinha. That's the triple change for Roberto Martinez here as Portugal seek the opening goal of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad substitutes to bring on, and Bernardo Silva's, his intelligence is something, but the extraordinary pace of Leao, it's going to be a real difficulty for Scotland, because over on that right hand side, Ralston, he's been put under a lot of pressure. To be fair, he's held up to it very well, possibly a wee bit better than Scotland have held up on the left hand side, but real questions going to be asked in the second half now.
Bernardo Silva, who's had a lot of miles in the legs this season, he's played in every game for Manchester City in all competitions. He scored against Poland on Saturday for Portugal, on the bench tonight, but being introduced now for this key final half hour with the game very much still in the balance. Here's Leao involved for the first time, the AC Milan winger. Sprints back into his own half to get away from Ralston, gets it back again from Nuno Mendes, and here he is on his bike. He's rapid as Leao, but doubling up at him is little Billy Gilmour, who sprints across to help out Ralston and wins the ball off the much taller frame of Leao there. And that's an interesting introduction to the game for the Portuguese winger. Down goes Che Adams, fouled inside his own half. Free kick to Scotland, and he takes it immediately. Gives it to Robertson on the left-hand side. The Hampden roar as the Liverpool player comes sprinting over the halfway line, but tracked all the way by a hard-working Bernardo Silva, who wasn't going to allow Andy Robertson into the Portuguese territory without a fight there. McLean's under pressure here from Vitinha. Portugal win it back again. The game has just stepped up in terms of the intensity. Here's Bruno Fernandes, chops back at himself on the edge of the area, shoots City with the outside of the right boot. It was blocked for the first defender. It comes down for Antonio Silva, but his first touch is dreadful, and now it's Scotland's chance to come on the counter-attack. The game ever so slightly beginning to stretch. Ryan Christie can't find a gap, and then he fouls Nuno Mendes, and that's a free kick to Portugal on the halfway line. 0-0.
They have stepped up, haven't they? The pace of the game, the Portuguese, you can tell that they feel comfortable with the players that they've brought on. Scotland actually have tried to lift it as well. Yet again, they've broken into good areas and just cannot hold it for any more than 2 or 3 passes.
I think Portugal do work very hard when they don't have the ball. They are not allowing Scotland any sort of time or space. It's João Cancelo, gives it to Bernardo Silva, who always looks so composed in the ball, never flustered. Lays it off for Vitinha in the midfield. Back over to João Cancelo on the right-hand side. And now the passes are beginning to move by in more of a whir in front of the Scotland penalty area, with all bodies back behind the ball for Steve Clarke's team. Scotland 0, Portugal 0. BBC Radio 5 Live at BBC Sounds tonight at Hampden Park. That's a good pass from Vitinha towards the edge of the area, but João Cancelo is tackled by Ben Doak, and then Doak gives it away, and a chance for Neves to clip it in too high for Ronaldo. Work for Ralston to do, but he deals with it admirably, and Scotland should be able to clear away. We see little glimpses from Ben Doak, the promise, the potential he has, but we see some mistakes too, to remind you of how inexperienced he is. Here's Leao into the penalty area, tries to slip it infield for Ronaldo, and it's hoofed away as Scotland are under a lot of pressure here, and up towards the halfway line, and a volleyed back heel by Ruben Diaz, and then Nuno Mendes just about keeps it in play, but Portugal regained possession. Pat Nevin.
The point you're saying about Ben Doak's interesting, because I'm watching him very closely. He's now spending the vast majority of his time at left back. That's not where he wants to get possession.
Here's Leao, left-hand side for Portugal, who are stepping down on the accelerator here. They're hungry now for this goal. Ronaldo tries to bring it with him into the penalty area. Twinkle toes past the first defender. Couldn't beat the second, then groans as Scotland give it away. Portugal have it on the edge of the box. Bruno Fernandes to Leao, hurdles over a tackle into the penalty area, pulls it back. Ronaldo unselfishly let it through his legs, but it wouldn't roll for João Cancelo, and then Scotland trying to bring it out from the back. There's a push, and that's going to be a free kick to Steve Clarke's team, and a chance to relieve some very big pressure. Kenny McLean, the player, foul there.
Yeah, he done actually well, and Scotland are going to make a couple of changes now, and I'm not surprised at that. There are so many tired players out there, and there's a lot of players giving the ball away far too easily. I mean, I actually can't believe it that Scotland have managed to get this far without losing a goal, because giving the ball away, giving possession away in their own third time and time again, you usually don't get away at this level. So skin of the teeth or fingernails we're hanging on by, and Scotland will just hope that Ryan Gold, particularly who's coming on, will be able to hold the ball up a little bit more.
Several players in the Portuguese team who play in Saudi, reminder of the international measure of the game these days, that Scotland are about to bring on 2 players who play their club football across the Atlantic. Lewis Morgan of New York Red Bulls is going to come on, and Ryan Gold of Vancouver Whitecaps as McTominay comes forward for Scotland here, tries the nutmeg in the penalty area on Ruben Neves, and he does it up to win a corner off the former Wolverhampton Wanderers man. Corner to Scotland. This feels like a big opportunity with 25 minutes to go. Can they take it? They've had so few of these, Pat.
Yeah, they have, and they work very, very hard on the set pieces. I've got Robertson over there whose delivery is really good, but it's got to be good there. But second half, McTominay's hardly got up the pitch. This time he did win Scotland the corner. Very, very good play by McTominay.
Scotland have had just 3 wins from the last 26 competitive games. It's over a year since the last one. Robertson, in-swinger, goalkeeper was uncertain. It was Hanley who was leaning into him and maybe fouling him. And a very belated whistle from the referee gives a free kick to Portugal there. The keeper didn't react properly, and it must have been that Hanley was interfering with it. Right, 66 minutes on the clock. Here's the double change. Ryan Gold and Lewis Morgan coming on. Gold is a very technically adept player, very creative. Be interesting to see who the departing players are going to be.
Well, Doak will certainly come off for Gold.
And Christie, I think, is the other one.
Yeah, and it's kind of like for like, because Morgan's kind of attack-minded right-hand side usually, so he'll go down that right-hand side. Not that many opportunities, but great opportunity for him tonight. But as much as anything else, fresh legs. Talking about Gold, I mean, Gold's a very, very interesting player. He's moved around quite a bit since he left Dundee United. Finally found themselves over in Canada, but he's a player who likes to get on the ball and pick out passes, but will he get on the ball in the final third?
Bento, his first ever start at Hampden. He's now been replaced. Che Adams is on the edge of the penalty area here. Gives it back to Robertson. Chance here for Scotland. Now, for the first time, Ryan Gold is involved. Rolls it back to Robertson again. Level with the edge of the penalty area. Left-hand side of Scotland attack. He's been held up by the experienced João Cancelo, though, who's done really well there to get it off Robertson, to backheel it to his old Manchester City teammate Bernardo Silva, and ultimately Portugal clear it away. But this has been a good spell just over the last few minutes from Scotland. No goals here, no shortage of them at Windsor Park. John Southall.
Northern Ireland enjoying themselves. Northern Ireland 4, Bulgaria 0. Conor Bradley shot cleared off the line, and Dion Charles tucked it in from 3 yards out. Northern Ireland 4, Bulgaria 0.
Thanks very much, John. Scotland 0, Portugal 0. Scotland looking for their first point in the group against the group leaders. Gold as well to win the ball ahead of Bruno Fernandes there. Robertson gives it back to Gold. Bright orange boots on him, and this time the slide is good from Bernardo Silva, and the ball goes out of play for a Scotland throw-in. Left full back position for them. Evidence of the urgency, not just from Scotland to go and get a winner here at home, but from Portugal as well, because Bernardo Silva played ball boy there so that the ball will be back in play as soon as possible. They believe they could go and win this too. Straight back to John Southall, Northern Ireland, Bulgaria.
And the goal has been disallowed, so it remains Northern Ireland 3, Bulgaria 0. VAR looked at it, disallowed it, 3-0 to Northern Ireland.
Thanks very much, John. Here comes Bernardo Silva into the penalty area for Portugal. João Cancelo outside him, pulls it back. Ronaldo was ready to bounce, it was flicked away from in front of him, and Leao will give it back to Nuno Mendes. Portugal trying to encamp themselves on the edge of the Scotland penalty area. We've got just over 20 minutes to play. Long way to go. Nuno Mendes turns away from Che Adams, gives it to Leao on the left-hand side. Ralston good and close to him. No way forward for Portugal there, and they retreat back to the centre circle, and Ruben Diaz again.
But it gets harder and harder and harder for Scotland. Gets so out of the ball. They're doing all the chasing just now. They're going to ask so many questions.
Here is Bernardo Silva, cuts away from goal, gives it back to Bruno Fernandes. So many created, talented players in this Portugal team as Bernardo Silva plays a clever ball to João Cancelo, stabs it across the edge towards the D. Vitinho back out to Bernardo Silva once again. Lots of movement off the ball, and Scotland need high concentration here. Bruno Fernandes will drag back for himself on the edge of the D. Bernardo Silva, who's in the middle of everything since coming on, and now they look for a bit of space on the left-hand side. Nuno Mendes back into the centre. Ruben Diaz. Now here is João Cancelo up against Gold, sends it across too high. Ronaldo was at the back post waiting, and he gives that Ronaldo look where he sort of scowls at where it came from, and out it goes for the goal kick.
You try not to hope if you're a Scotland fan, but 20 minutes to go now. Scotland have managed by hook or by crook to hold on this far, but it is a kind of complete rearguard action, very, very seldom getting off the pitch. Just looking at it just now, there's no lack of effort, but just the paucity of the play from Scotland has been very unusual.
The poor back pass. Gordon had to react. Gilmour's lucky. Ronaldo nearly intercepting.
I should have thrown you a bad one there. It wasn't Billy Gilmour. It was McLean. That was me that threw that in. Sorry.
No problem. Ball goes out of. Well, there's two balls briefly on the pitch there. There's still two balls. It got thrown back on again, I think. Maybe it hit an advertising board. The ball they tried to remove. Scotland 0, Portugal 0. For now, Portugal have had almost 30 crosses in the game. That is an illustration of how under pressure this Scotland defence have been. I mean, in terms of denying Portugal a goal, it's been heroic at times for the Scotland defence, but can they offer a little bit more? Can they ask a few questions of themselves? Here is Ruben Diaz at the back for Portugal, playing from left to right as we look down, gives it to Antonio Silva. Further over to the right hand side to João Cancelo, number 20 on his back. Preferred to Manchester United's Diogo Dalot, who's on the bench tonight. Vitinha of Paris Saint-Germain comes forward towards the D of the penalty area. Back out to João Cancelo again. Scotland working hard, they're shifting one way or the other as Portugal tried to prize a little way through here. Back to Ruben Diaz again. Pressure on him from Che Adams. Now Antonio Silva. Back again to João Cancelo. He's the preferred route. Cuts in field of Ryan Gauld. Has support from Bernardo Silva. Now this is Vitinho. Just outside the D. Scotland cannot get a kick at the moment. Portugal having to get João Cancelo on the right-hand side. Plays a 1-2, but will he get on the end of it from Ruben Neves? Oh, he does. Really good from João Cancelo. Gould's got to get back. Still there for Portugal. Bernardo Silva crosses it. Too high for Ronaldo. And out it goes for a goal kick. Scotland breathe again.
Yeah, but once again, I have to say Anthony Ralston at that back post there. The amount of pressure he's been put under from crosses from the right-hand side is extraordinary. And he's dealt with just about everyone. That time there, he went up, a little dummy header, never touched it, went out for a goal kick. Actually, he's had a splendid game today. He's right up there with the best performances for a Scotland player. No surprising that the best performance is coming from a defender.
He's done well tonight, Anthony Ralston, on his 16th cap for Scotland. You do get the feeling, though, that sooner or later one of these crosses is going to land for Cristiano Ronaldo, who is lurking with intent inside that penalty area whenever the ball comes in from wide areas. 73 minutes of the big stadium clock. Full house at Hampden. Big night here in the Nations League. Kenny McLean onto Ralston. Scotland trying to break into the Portuguese half, but it is far easier said than done. And here they must retreat to Gordon once again. And he puts the big boot on it, his less favoured right boot. It'll come down on the halfway line. Header won by Ruben Diaz. Scotland give it away again. And this is the problem. Ball retention extremely difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, those light blue stroke white shirts that the Portuguese are wearing, it does remind you of Manchester City, doesn't it? They completely and utterly control the game, the passing. Spent a lot of time passing around Scotland's like 18-yard box, and it's so hard to get the ball off them. And then when you do get the ball off them, they close, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, so well, so high, but hard to deal with.
Now maybe a chance here as Gold comes forward for Scotland. He's got Jay Adams with him on the edge of the area here. Now some support. Morgan on the right hand side. McTominay's made his way into the middle. Can Morgan deliver? Here's the cross. Jay Adams touches it up. McTominay, fresh air shot. Oh, it's Scotland's best chance of the evening, but they couldn't pull the trigger. And Portugal are the ones this time relieved to get it away. Scotland shirts, which had swarmed forward, now need to get back, because here come Portugal on the counter. Leao, who's got pace to burn, up against Ralston, pulls it back for Vitinho. Great tackle, Kenny McLean. Had to be careful inside the penalty area, but he threw his body at Vitinho, and the most exciting passage of play of the game over the last 30 seconds there.
Well, end to end, at least for a minute anyway. But you see what Scotland do. They defend really well, play in the break, but if you leave a gap, which they have again.
Leao again to the byline, sends in the cross, and it's headed out for another corner.
Yeah, but if you leave a gap anywhere, when Scotland down the right hand side there, full back goes, but as soon as they lose possession, having made half a chance, Leao, he knows where the gap is there, and Scotland are under all sorts of pressure. But I suppose it does go, you show one thing: Scotland, when they can get the ball, want to try and attack.
Oh, when you look at the record that Scott McTominay has had over the last couple of years for Scotland, and when that fell to him inside the 6-yard box, I thought that was it. Surely he's going to score. He swung his boot. Like, it wasn't the cleanest. There was people around. It was a scurry, but oh, that could have been the moment.
Everything he's touched recently has gone in for Scotland. It's been absolutely brilliant. But he's had two very, very good chances in this game. One on target, but with no direction, and this one, air shot.
10 goals in his last 13 starts for Scotland. That's how good Scott McTominay has been. Here come Portugal again. They're seeking the opener now. João Cancelo, right wing, takes his time this time, slips it for Bernardo Silva, looks to be offside, plays the referee, pulls it back, and Gilmore was there just between the penalty spot and the 6-yard box, and he sort of sat down on the ball. He controlled it. He was able to get Mag up to his feet and clear it away. Gold controls it on his chest. That's good. Now can he set away Morgan on the right wing? Ralston's got on the opener. Brilliant. Morgan's played it into his path. This is Ralston for Scotland. Sends it into the middle. McTominay, it's agonisingly in front of him. He was about 2 paces behind it. McTominay sprinted out to keep the ball alive. Tries to break into the penalty area. Tussles with João Cancelo and eventually runs out of steam as it falls for Diogo Costa. Scotland have found a second wind here, and they're trying their best to take this game to Portugal, but the game's still in the balance at 0-0.
It's a brilliant break up the right-hand side there. Ralston, you smile when you see him, because he's not noted for it. And by the way, have a look at his body language just now. He is wiped. He is absolutely wrecked. He's given everything this game. He almost gave Scotland the lead there. That ball into McTominay, who was only millimetres short of a tap-in.
It was a lovely build-up. Gold involved, Morgan involved, Ralston on the overlap, and had his pass just been a fraction closer to McTominay, well, who knows, Scotland could have taken the lead there. 13 minutes to go. 0-0 in Glasgow. It's tense. Ruben Diaz inside the Scotland half, gives it short to Antonio Silva. Out to João Cancelo again, very much a danger man. Into the penalty area, Bernardo Silva tries to shoot from the tight angle, too many defenders close to him. Grant Hanley made the main block there. Scotland get it away, but immediately Portugal recapture possession and have it with Antonio Silva once again. He gives it to João Cancelo. Similar pattern of build-up, time and time again. Bernardo Silva, back to João Cancelo. Good interception by Robertson. Now, can Scotland hold on to it? Robertson at the corner flag. Short to goal. They're going to try and play their way through the Portuguese press. Back by McLean to Robertson again. This is high-risk stuff, but Scotland are feeling confident enough to try it. Oh, they've given it away inside their own half. Morgan, good pressure on Nuno Mendes. Thought for an instant he was going to get it back again, but Portugal feed it to the goalkeeper Diogo Costa, and the visitors at the top of the group will come again.
They've made a wee difference, Morgan and Gaul, since they've come on. Both of them, questions were asked whether they're capable of this level. Both have looked very good in the ball.
Yeah, both looking good. Is it what Scotland need? Here's Vitinha, edge of the penalty area, shoots, comes off the back of the head of Hanley. That was actually quite fortunate. Here's Ruben Neves, 6 or 7 yards outside the penalty area, central location, gives it out to João Cancelo, hangs in across the, well, initially looked poor, then looked a bit scary as it headed towards the top corner, but Gordon was able to backpedal and held it high above his head.
Oh, I've been watching Craig Gordon for long enough now. I was never worried for a second there. Yeah, he's had a decent game tonight, but to be fair, how many really good saves has he had to make? Very, very few when you put it down to it.
The free kick from Nuno Mendes in the first half had to be pushed away. The Ronaldo shot that was on target wasn't very powerful. But it's credit to Scotland's defence that the pressure they've been under, all the territory, all the possession of the game has been heavily weighted in Portugal's favour. And despite all of that, Gordon has not had those key saves to make in the game, which is to Scotland's defence credit.
Which he's well capable of. Once again, Ralston does a great job there on Leal, and considering Leal's got plenty of energy and plenty of pace, he's done a good job so far on him.
There is a dramatic display of tattooed flesh down in the technical area, which will tell you that Lyndon Dykes is about to come on, Scotland number 9. It's an attacking change that Steve Clarke is preparing here as we are almost into the final 10 minutes of normal time. Dykes, who now plays with Birmingham City in League One.
Yeah, it's just an out ball really that Scotland are looking for just now. Adams has run himself into the ground. He's had very little to work on. They've just got so few passes into interesting areas. When he's got the ball into his feet, he's held it up well and he's connected well. But they get so few balls up to him in decent areas. Whereas with Dykes, just lump it up there and let him fight for it.
Che Adams, who came on as a sub in Croatia the weekend, scored a goal that he thought would be the late equaliser. It was disallowed for offside, and Scotland hoping that Dykes can return the act now by coming on as the change here and maybe getting a goal that could stand tonight and that could beat Portugal. And what a significant result that would be for Steve Clarke, who's been under pressure with the results lately. He says the performances are to his liking, but as we know, football is all about results. Scotland have played some aspects of the game brilliantly tonight. Here's Vitinha, plays it forward towards Cristiano Ronaldo, beaten to it by Gold. Now João Cancelo has possession on the right hand side for Portugal, gives it short to Vitinha, infield to Ruben Neves. Bruno Fernandes wants it to feed on the edge of the penalty area, but the Portuguese midfielders hold on to it for now. Vitinha slightly right of centre, being hounded by Kenny McLean. Now across to Ruben Diaz, Nuno Mendes onto Leao, who's come on as the left winger. Ralston just stepping off him because he knows he's so quick. And there's another goal at Windsor Park in Belfast, and John Southall's watching it.
It is 4-0 now. Northern Ireland 4, Bulgaria 0. Isaac Price 25 yards out, top right hand corner. That's his hat-trick. Terrific strike, terrific hat-trick. Northern Ireland 4, Bulgaria 0.
Big night for Isaac Price. Thanks, John. Scotland 0, Portugal 0. are we going to get a late dramatic winning goal here at Hampden Park?
Yeah, you're asking that question, and every single person in there is worried about that in the stadium just now, because Scotland have given away so many late goals.
Here's Vitinha just on the edge of the area. Scotland working so hard to keep bodies ahead of him. Ruben Neves sends in a brilliant cross, so close from Bruno Fernandes. Ronaldo shoots wide. He did everything right. Cristiano Ronaldo took 2 touches there to get space to shoot in the penalty area. He's claiming it deflected off a defender and should be a corner. Ruben Diaz has picked up a yellow card for complaining about it, but the referee says goal kick and that the Ronaldo shot was simply off target.
Yeah, I have to say, I thought Ronaldo took that down and it touched his arm on the way down, so I think it would have been looked at with VAR anyway. But again, Ronaldo's had quite a lot of shots towards the goal, but not many of them on target.
So Ronaldo, who's had powerful headers tonight, who's had wild shots, he's smiling down there. He feels his team should have had a corner. By his standards, should he have hit the back of the net regardless? We've seen a replay, it's inconclusive from that angle as to whether there was a touch or not. But Ruben Diaz booked. Scotland give it away in midfield. You can hear the groans. Oh, it could be costly. Here's Bernardo Silva in the penalty area. Poor ball from him straight to Hanley. Work for McTominay to do on the edge here. Was he fouled by Ruben Diaz? He was. And the Manchester City player wisely keeps his mouth shut there. Having just received a yellow, he turns and he jogs back to the halfway line. Free kick to Scotland. 7 minutes of normal time to go.
Yeah, and this time it was McTominay trying to get the ball and turn on it and hold it. Loses possession again. And you question the Scotland players' ability to hold on to the ball, but in reality, you said it in the first half, the closing down by those midfielders, by the Portuguese, has been exceptional. However, you have to say the concentration with that Scottish defence has also been exceptional. To work that hard and give so few chances away has been amazing.
And that is why this is such an interesting climax now, because I think 0-0 of it, there'll be a lot of positive reviews for Scotland here. A lot of praise for Steve Clarke. Can his team hang out? Could they even go and grab a winner of their own? Nothing's impossible at the moment. Lyndon Dykes yet to get a touch that's coming on, beaten to it by Antonio Silva on the edge of the Portugal penalty area. Have Scotland the energy, the bravery here to take this on and to try and get the winner themselves? Ralston on the right hand side launches it high. McTominay is leading the attack. He jumps, but neither he nor Antonio Silva get a touch, and it bounces through to Diogo Costa.
But good for Scotland, they've got McTominay up there. He's getting up beside Lyndon Dykes, so yeah, it might be very simplistic football, but get it up to those two tall lads and trying to get a little bit of knockdown. That's the thing more than anything else that's likely to result a goal or a chance for Scotland.
The last 3 meetings of these nations, Portugal have outscored Scotland 10-1. That's just an illustration of the attacking prowess of the visitors who've been held scoreless so far tonight. Leao on the left-hand side for Portugal gives it into Nuno Mendes. Still a good 15 yards outside the penalty area. Back to Leao again. 2 defenders in front of him. Gives it though to Vitinha in the box, who tries the shot, and it's headed away by, I think that was John Souttar, just in front of Craig Gordon. Scotland clinging on here. Bernardo Silva, down the right-hand side he goes, 10 yards from the byline. He's got João Cancelo as an overlap, and that's just a decoy. Back infield to Bruno Fernandes. Now he'll give it to João Cancelo. Heavy first touch though, low ball in and nearly flicked. That was such a clever attempt by Bernardo Silva. Tried the little instep flick, and it deflects away off a defender for a Portugal corner.
Again, heart and mouth moment for Scotland. They're now defending so incredibly deep, almost on their own 6-yard box.
Corner taken quickly. Bernardo Silva gets it back again. Crossing position on the right-hand side. Gives it to João Cancelo. Swings it too high again. It's been a few times tonight that João Cancelo has put too much height on his crosses, with teammates in really good positions waiting for it in the middle. Ruben Neves gets a touch. Nuno Mendes. Back to Vitinha now. Portugal allowing the ball to do the work. Energy-sapping defence for Scotland as the clock ticks on, and we've now got 4 minutes of normal time to play. Scotland 0, Portugal 0. Roberto Martinez preparing to make a double substitution here in the closing stages. Bruno Fernandes to Cristiano Ronaldo. A couple of step-overs, then a fancy flick. Gives it to Leao, who's onside, to the byline. Cuts back at himself, hangs in the cross. Gold gets up and wins the header. Dykes tries to complete the clearance. He's done enough. It's back to the centre circle. Scotland try to step out because they know Portugal are going going to come at them again.
And the fans know how much pressure it is. They're doing their very best to get behind that Scotland team, but they are struggling.
Leao into the penalty area, left-hand side, pulls it back, Bruno Fernandes, saved by Gordon, and he held on to it. Cristiano Ronaldo tried to run in for the tap-in, but 41-year-old Craig Gordon fell down onto the ball and he held it safe.
Yeah, I mean, that's very typical of Craig Gordon. And you look at the Scotland players out there just now. Ralston, he's got cramp. He's just trying to get through the last few minutes of this game. He's gone back down again. Billy Gilmour, exactly the same. Those players are exhausted. And by the way, I've got an idiot on the field, which is a real sadness. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to go straight to Ronaldo. You know, don't you? So stick on.
It's unfortunately become a bit of a pantomime of modern sport. Big cheer, rugby tackle for the steward who came up and blindsided the pitch invader there. I have to say, I do feel sorry for Ronaldo, and I know he causes trouble. He does a bit of posing and he does all the rest of it. He must think in those moments, yeah, I'm sure this is just a friendly fan who wants a photo, but he must think, I hope this isn't going to be some nutter, you know, who's going to have a swing at him or worse. And
yeah, it could be.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, and it's a really common thing now, and I suspect it's just a kind of influencer social media thing that people want to do this and want to be known for it. But it's really worrying and actually quite frightening for Cristiano Ronaldo.
Right, they're going to sort all that out. There's going to be changes made by both teams. While that happens, it's been a goal fest in Belfast. John Southall.
Nobody saw this coming, Connor. Northern Ireland 5, Bulgaria 0. Josh McGuinness has just topped it off the crossbar. In it went. It's Bedlam in Belfast. Northern Ireland 5, Bulgaria 0.
Thanks very much. Vitinha's gone off for João Felix, and Nelson Semedo replaces João Cancelo. So fresh legs on it, right back and in midfield. Is there going to be a winning goal with 90 seconds plus the stoppages to go?
Scotland have had to make a change as well. There was no way that Ralston could carry on there, and Devlin's on there at right back.
So that is for Nicky Devlin, an international debut just short of his 31st birthday, which comes up on Thursday. Wow, he's had to be patient to get this chance for the national team. Dykes battling for the ball on the halfway line. Free kick has been given. It was for an earlier challenge called on Antonio Silva.
Yeah, at this point in time, Scotland can't afford to turn off. There's been a couple of changes, you know, and you know they feel as if they've almost just about got there. There's a minute of normal time left just now. You cannot switch off either Scotland. They have lost goals in the 97th and 100th minute of recent games. This is now the danger sign.
We're about to move into the 90th minute. It's been a really interesting game at Hampden. At times it's been attack against defence. Scotland who had one or two opportunities that they could have nicked goals against the run of play but fluffed the chance. Will they live to regret that? Is Steve Clarke on the cusp of his first point in the group? And are Portugal going to drop points in the group for the first time? Here is Ruben Diaz at the back for Portugal, into Bruno Fernandes, goes stretching long crossfield ball intended for Leao but not accurate enough, and his first action as a senior international footballer for Nicky Devlin is to just allow the ball pass him, knowing it would go out for a goal kick, but he must have the butterflies bouncing in his stomach at the moment.
Absolutely, and I think it's rather good news to Scotland that there's only 4 minutes left on her, because it could have been a lot more than that. There's been a lot of substitutions that have been made, 1 or 2 little injuries here and there, but 4 minutes.
4 minutes to go.
That's not too much. Surely this time.
Gordon takes his time over the goal kick. Is Cristiano Ronaldo on his 216th appearance for Portugal? Is he going to be held goalless here? Some people reckoning this might end up being his last ever game on British soil for Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm sure he'll fancy coming back again, but you never know. He has had a few chances tonight, but really only half chances, which is to the credit of the Scotland defence, but it ain't over yet. Ruben Diaz to Nuno Mendes of Paris Saint-Germain, up over the halfway line, gives it back into Ruben Diaz once again. Cool heads needed for Scotland now. Portugal trusting the process, believing that one of these attacks is going to deliver for them eventually if they can keep it going. Here is João Felix, some fresh ideas into the visitors' attack. Antonio Silva to Nelson Semedo, the Wolves player who's come on at right back for Cancelo. Back to Ruben Neves, his former Wolves teammate. Bernardo Silva, just outside the penalty area that Scotland defend. Ruben Neves stabs one into the box, looking for Ronaldo, who's ready to pull the trigger. It comes through to Leao. What a block that is! Devlin sliding down on his knees to make the block just as the shot came in from Leao, and it skids away out. Was it a goal kick or a corner? I think it's a corner kick.
By the way, that sort of tackle, does that deserve a fist pump? I think it does. Just with a few moments to go, and it's your first real action as an international. Great tackle there, a great block.
That was really good for Devlin. It needed to be. Leao was ready to score. Here comes the corner. Bruno Fernandes headed out by Scott McTominay. But Scotland will come again. Nelson Semedo to Bernardo Silva, right wing for Portugal. Morgan tries to hold him up. Bernardo Silva swings it in. Ronaldo stood back hoping it would drop for him, but it doesn't. Here's Leao running across the edge of the penalty area. Back to Ruben Neves. Times like this over the years, time and time again, Portugal have looked to Ronaldo and he's come up with something special. Can it happen here in Hampden? Ball into the box. There's an attempted backheader, but there's a foul on Scott McTominay, and that's a free kick to Scotland, and they'll take their time over this.
That's a massive relief for Scotland there. I think it might have been Diaz there that pushed over McTominay. He's so tired that he couldn't do anything about it, but time and time again Scotland have found themselves doing really, really deep defending, but everyone's done their job. Everyone's, they've kept an eye on Ronaldo. He's a hard person to mark. They've given him very, very little space, but you're looking at players with brilliant creativity, in the likes of Leao, in the likes of Bernardo Silva, Felix as well, he's on the pitch just now. They've given them very, very few clear opportunities, and I think whatever happens now between now and the end of the game, only a few minutes left, I think Stevie Clarke will be really proud of the work rate that his team's put in and the concentration. Scotland have lost their last 5 internationals in a row. It's tonight when the rot stops, and against this opponent of all teams. Here is Ryan Gold. Is there a chance this could get even better for Scotland? Robertson, cross on the left-hand side. Dykes tries to get on it. Beaten in the air, though, by Antonio Silva. But Portugal can't clear it away. Gilmour, Gold, back out to Robertson. Can he create something with that left boot of his? He's got Ryan Gold available outside him. Up against Nelson Semedo. Good defending by Nelson Semedo. Blocks the cross, wins back possession, clears it away. But Gilmour's going to pick it up here in the midfield. Scotland sensing that this attack may not quite be over. Leao, good touch to Joe Felix. Scotland better not have pushed too many players forward here as Bernardo Silva comes crashing through. Poland scored a really late winner here on the counter-attack last month. Bernardo Silva to Bruno Fernandes. They've messed it up between them, have they? It goes eventually out for a corner kick to Portugal. There won't be enough time to take it. You can imagine what Ronaldo thinks about that. He's outraged that they haven't been given time to take the corner. It finishes 0-0, and it is a big point for Scotland and Steve Clarke. Yeah, fantastic work there. Look, Portugal with a better side by a country mile. However, that bravery, and by the way, I think, is it Ronaldo? Bernardo Silva has been yellow carded. Furious with the referee. They've only got themselves to blame. He had 70% in possession and created very few chances. But the reason for that is because of the hard work of that Scottish defence. Went to 4 at the back, thought that might not be enough against the likes of Portugal. It's proved enough. A clean sheet. Stevie Clarke, a defender himself, we're very pleased with that. Ronaldo is being a bit of a pantomime villain here. His complaints are continuing. He's shaking the head, he's waving his arms, wild gesticulation. He's a bad loser, Cristiano Ronaldo, but that, he will say, is the reason why he's such a good winner for most of his career. But he leaves here without a goal tonight at Hampden, and Scotland have kept the mighty Portugal at bay. Final score, Scotland 0, Portugal 0.